how you torture and tormented. Okay, you know, I just want to say first of all that I'm thankful that I got the opportunity to at least speak and articulate about what's happening to me. And I make a lot of the same videos. I try to be as articulate as I can, but it's so hard because what's happening to us is just it's just hard to even put it in words. It's hard to express it, but you have to be strong. You have to see things for what they are, and regardless of how you torture and tormented, you gotta see things for the reality of what it is. Let me just start off by saying what I'm speaking about. First of all, I'm a targeted individual. I'm a targeted individual. You hear these names, this people claiming themselves as target individual, and what it means is things are happening to us that are not happening organically. It almost sounds surreal. And yes, you as you heard it before, if you heard about target individual, what it means is for some reason, and obviously it's gonna be clear about why the reason is why this is happening to us. Our whole ecosystem is rewired and changed. Our life is completely changed. It's completely manipulated. And reality is no longer reality. We no longer live a reality. We live a falsified reality where things are just put together in such a weird way. But I just want to be clear. As a target individual, I know what it means to be a target individual. It means that we are now human test subject. The psyop of what this is they try to present as is just a psyop. Target individual, if you're watching that, know that the government is doing this. No, what you're seeing, what is presented to you is a facade. They try to present a reality that's falsified. Just think about what you're seeing around you. Just think about the level of effort is put into the destruction of your life. Why do you think this is happening? Why do you think people are acting this way? It's simple. This is orchestrated that way for a purpose, a much bigger and very sinister purpose, but it's a purpose that has a purpose. The rest of these things that you see, please do not get fooled by it. We're not that important for anybody to just want to break you, destroy your life. For what? Who are you? Now understand why they will do that to you. Imagine that the reality is you are a human guinea pig. For what? You're a human guinea pig for very, 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 very sophisticated technology. Very sophisticated technology. That's why so much effort can be put in so much of your destruction. The government doesn't want to destroy people just to destroy people. Well, why? The level of effort and finances that is utilized to destroy you doesn't even make sense. There's real threat in the world. Why you? It's simple. Unfortunately, what we are now is just these guinea pigs for very, very sophisticated DoD technology and programs that utilize human beings as guinea pigs. And that we're now these test samples where they develop this technology that's been ongoing for years. For years. And so now the people around you, the people you interact with, become clowns for the purpose of gaslighting you. There's no shame. There is zero shame in this trash. They think that they can act accordingly. They think they can act a certain way, and reality is going to be painted in these ways because their job is to gaslight you to accepting these storylines. It's really that their job. They are truly are gaslighting you to the point of accepting something that is surreal, and you know, like this doesn't even make sense to the you. But your job is to make sense of it, and make me make sense of it. Okay, I'm a target individual. I'm a test subject, and what I'm dealing with is things that are surreal. Listen, I know that I've made so many videos, but I just wish that I wish, sorry, I don't wish. I want to make sure that my videos make sense, as articulate as I can make this thing be, and that means that I'm not gonna speak a lot of it. I'm gonna let testimonials and make it obvious. We go through as target individual horrible things. The target individuals consist of men, women, and even children. You will hear testimonials, atrocities, but very consistent ones, very consistent testimonial that shows a pattern of how they do things. They have systematic tactics that, thankfully, for that, I'm able to see things for they are. And the involvement of people of all sorts, there's involvement of all sorts of people. I was put in this program. Unfortunately, I started working for the wrong people, and these people did not want me there. This organization I work for was a very conservative organization, a very conservative organization. Matter of fact, when I started working for this department, specifically in this organization, I was the only person of my race and my gender working at that position of this organization within that department. In other department, it was a little bit more diverse, but that department specifically, when you talk to people of my race and my gender, I was the only one. You know when you go somewhere and like like it was, but that's okay. Maybe it's the places, but at the same time they had a mind, a perception that made them believe that, I guess, if they fired me, I will come against them. These people are much more powerful, but they just wanted to get rid of me completely, destroy me. So they put me in this program where, well, I become something more than just somebody they fire. Actually, I become a human guinea pigs. This organization I worked for had no tie. Well, let me just repeat that. It's going to be a struggle for me to speak, but I'm going to do my best, because this technology that is implemented on me can do so much to me, inclusive of forcing me to say things that I don't mean to say. But what I'm trying to say is, this organization sells industrial supplies. They don't work in governmental type of things. They sell, like chairs, things like that, to different people, businesses. Very, very much non-weaponry, non. I mean, the government buy from them, but just like they'll buy like toilet paper, or not even toilet paper, but like trash bags from somebody. That's like that, or buy cleaning supplies from people like that. Maybe that level of like be doing business with governmental entities. That's just the level of level. But this organization made is a very powerful organization that really make put their weight in government. They donate a lot of money to very conservative entities, very, very conservative political aspect of things. Very, I mean, so conservative that they even were recognized for donating a lot of money to ensure that this abortion right is no longer a right. So if you go to Texas right now, if you can't get an abortion, they helped for that to happen. They donated very noticeable money. I mean, they're very much recognized. Obviously, other people did, but they are very recognized. Maybe some of the most recognized for their donation, for that implementation. I'm talking about conservative to the extreme, right? It's not even like centrist or not conservative, as conservative as get. This is the organization, and they make it very obvious, very, very, very obvious, that they are very conservative. They don't even try to hide that, and they don't even try to limit the level of conservativeness. I mean, it got so bad and to the point where they would openly donate money to somebody called Roy Moore. Roy Moore, right, was running, I think in 2000. I'm not sure if it's 2018 or 2017, some around that time. He was running to be the governor of Alabama. You understand, Alabama has always been conservative, but things came out about this man, and this Roy Moore was allegedly, well, what happened is people came up and say when he was an assistant DA, and he was a 35-year-old man at the time, he apparently had this thing where he would pick up kids as young as 14 years old, to the point where he was banned from the YMCA. I'll bring this story just to circle back to this, because for me today that is helpful for me to see this trash for what they are. It puts things in perspective and it helps me see things for what they are. To me, is a God sent, like, it's a God sent validation. I'm so thankful. I am so thankful that this is something I can always go back to. I am thankful. I gotta say thank you, God, that this is something that actually, of course, this is sad that he was doing this thing, but to me, it's like, and let me just say that this man, this Roy Moore, has nothing to do with me being in his program or anything like that. The reason why I say that name is because you'll see how reality is thrown at this purpose that get angry from it. It's a provocation now. Now let me just say that. Let me go back. I was put in this program by them. And the truth is they put me in this program because I didn't seem like I was gonna leave, and they wanted me out. And it was not a good fit for the company, the culture company specifically. And the truth is, all my gut feeling was giving me that I knew I was not gonna be happy here. But fresh out of college, I'm excited. It's a job. I'm getting paid. For me, it's a lot of money. I mean, it's fresh out of college. I don't need much. I had a broken down car. I didn't need much. I was living still with my family. But it was a job that, if I stick around long enough, it'll be a good job to have on my resume. So I stuck around. Big mistake. Big mistake. And I knew it. I knew that was not a place for me. That this has nothing to do with what I'm saying, but to follow your guts, you know when something is off. I didn't. I follow my ambition, and I stayed there. Even if I didn't have to, but I was like, oh my gosh, if I stay there for maybe 2 or 3 years, I can move on and then be able to have that on my resume. Nope. I started working there, and I knew something was really weird about this place, especially when you see the department, like the vice president of this department. He was such a weird man. Like, like those kind of people that give you that weird feeling. Oh, he just gave all of that. It was like, oh, this is just weird. I can't even connect with this person. He's such a bizarre man. It's just like I've talked to so many people, but this guy gives me something about him. And I should have felt that. I should have known something was off about this man, because the reason why I'm here is because of him. Now, shortly start working there. Matter of fact, I don't think he was really happy that I started working there. I think it was just because they were at this point looking for somebody, and the CEO was like, you know what, I'm gonna pick somebody. Let's work with him. And I don't think it was really even their choice at this point. So I think it was overridden by somebody higher than my vice president, and that was already a bad start. And then on top of that, I was just not a good fit there. So they put me in this program, and then things started happening to me. Now, I know what being a target individual is today, but I didn't know what was happening. They put me in this program. These people, and I'm gonna be honest, don't have they're not renowned for their diversity. They're not. Very not. Especially listen, the whole company, out of all the company, this department specifically is the least diverse out of all the department. The company on its own is already not diverse. The corporate is super not diverse. Let's just say there's a few of people that look like me. Now that specific department is the least diverse. Truly, especially when it comes to gender and race. The least. I was the only one. So they put me in this program, and I knew they put me in this program quite early on. I just didn't fit there. I was like too fun. Like I was not. I was just too like outgoing, kind of like relaxed and try to take things lightly. These people are like, you can feel the depression. So, anyways, they put me in this program. I, and I know I'm not the first person they put in this program. I know they've put, excuse me, other people in this program. I know. I think people who especially that in that department, people who did that don't go get along with them was put in this program. But it's so embarrassing because shortly after me start working there, something happened there. There was this guy who allegedly was putting hidden cameras places that she so this crazy stuff. And all along, this guy worked there for 10 years or so. Fit in this corporate world for years. They loved him. Everybody was praising him, showing all the signs that this guy was something was going on with him. Nope. But me starting working there, they're like, oh my gosh, they already see me as a threat. I was like, yeah, the reality always comes up. But the reality, I end up being put in this program. And when you put in this program, the defamation, the vilification begins. They start vilifying, they start defamation start, and life doesn't changes. And then slowly your family members involve themselves in that. It took me years to figure out what happened. I ended up leaving that location where I was and moved to New York City because it was like, but then I stayed at that job for 5 years. Stupid me, but in my mind, my ambition was too strong. I was like, if give me more years, and then that would be a good resume. I can start going. 5 years, I leave that job. I'm like, it's just too much. I get so sick, right, because of this depression and stress. I lose so much weight. The doctors are like, this is you abnormally skinny. I'm able to eat. I'm actually healthy. I could eat, but I don't have the appetite. I can't eat. I'm just so depressed. I'm so depressed that I can't even eat. I remember having lunch, eating, not even, and I remember the person responsible for putting me in this program, looking at me, saying weird things like, "Oh, you enjoy your last meal, huh?" But he said that in a different way. He used a term that I'm not familiar with, but your last meal before you are executed. I forgot the term he used, but it was not some word that I was familiar with. I had to just look it up a little bit. I had to look it up on Google and just see what he meant. It's like, what, the last meal of like like the death, when you are before you are put into the whatever gas chamber, whatever. But when you get like the death penalty, your last meal. He said that, and I didn't get it at the time. I was like, oh, okay, okay. I just left it off. I was like, I don't know what he means, but I looked it up. I was like, why would he say that, right? Because all along he was making sure that I'm putting this program that the horrible things happen to me happens to me. So I know that he's the one responsible for putting me in this program. And it's funny, he was the least vocal, but I knew he was doing the worst things to me. And like I said, I knew the second I had this meeting with this person that this guy is not right. Something is off about him. I'm telling you, he gives you the X, like it's something was really off. Like he could do really bad things to you, but now physically do something to you like that, even though he can't. But it's just like he knew people who could do things to you. That kind of feeling. And like not know people like just like random thugs. No, 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 no. Like new powerful people. Like new things, like not like a street thug who knows somebody who can kill you. No, that this is just too easy. Knows people who are in some level like really not elite, but like very like dangerous, true danger, not street people dangerous thug. No, that this is not real danger. This man really makes you understand real danger. There's different type of danger in life, in the world. There's this everyday street danger, right? A thug, somebody who's gonna stab you, shoot you. That's not a real danger. He's the type of danger like that sit behind a desk that can destroy your life, your family life, everything you know. That kind of danger. You felt that. That can destroy your life as a human being, career, everything. That's the kind of feeling he gave you. Not somebody who like kill you. No. Destroy you and your whole being. That kind of person. I felt that. I knew something was really off. But I couldn't believe to that. I thought maybe they're gonna blackball me or something like that. Because what happened is I left my job and wherever I'll go, it'll follow me. Like people at work will act differently, act weird. I left a couple jobs. Like, why are they acting the same ways? It's like it must be that place. They're doing something. They put me like they blackball me, and everywhere I go, they act the same way everywhere. So I decided to leave, and not only everything, but my family was acting so weird too. I was dating somebody acting very weird, and actually, the person I was dating from the day one I was dating, something was really off all the time. But she gave me some kind of comfort. But everything, everyone, she will ask them like this company. There was an article written about them, about how conservative they were, and she will find the reason, and by the New York Times, and she will be like, "Oh, nobody's gonna read that." I was like, "What? This is a New York Times. This is not a small like media outlet. This is like one of the largest media outlet in the United States, maybe in the world." It's like she was trying to minimize the impact they had, especially on the conservative side in the United States. Try to make it look like they're just nobodies. And because I was dating somebody who was very much on the progressive side of things, she was trying to make it look like they're just like regular, non impactful people. But no, they were very powerful. And on top of that, I'm hearing perps try to disorient me. They donated so much money that they recognized to be the top donors of the Conservative Party. And I said before, that name Roy Moore? Yeah, it's gonna come back here to just give you an example of how this have been helpful for me. Okay, now I leave this country. I leave the state. I mean, I moved to New York City, and at this point, I'm like, I don't care. I don't care. I'm gonna do my best. First of all, I gotta say this is personal. New York is definitely a place I should have been way earlier, but I moved here after being apparently put in this program that I know now. And everywhere I go, people will follow me. They'll act weird. I start working somewhere, they're acting weird. And I move somewhere there. And then on August 19, 2019, everything changed. Now, before that, things were happening to me. People were following me everywhere, acting weird. I mean, I didn't even feel comfortable leaving the apartment because everywhere I go, people will follow me. Everywhere. And yeah, on August 19, 2019, everything changed. But also, it opened my eyes to what I was put in. The truth is, I'm glad that I was at least able to know what the hell was happening. But it didn't. It took me a while to figure out what this was. Now, on August 19, 2019, the reason why I'm called this date, I remember this date, and I forced myself to remember this date, because on that date, my mind has never been the same. I've been altered to think in every ways possible. It is so disgusting. I've been rewired. Everything has been changed. Everything. I am no longer myself since that day. No longer thinking the way I'm thinking naturally. I no longer think organically, and I've been manipulated to think in different ways and react in different ways. That's so disgusting. On that day, they start manipulating my brain, my thought process, my memories, all this, and it's been so disgusting. The manipulations have been manipulations specific to taught children. And they've been trying to paint me in such fashion. They've been rewiring reality in so many ways, changing everything. My current real time thought process are manipulated. My current real time reactions are manipulated. My my dreams are manipulated. They can make me react a certain way, like literally physically make me do something, make me move somewhere in real time, every day, every second. My thought process is rewired in real time. But not only that, my memories are manipulated in so many different ways, creating narrative, creating persona, creating perceptions, creating to change, literally try to rewire me to be somebody else. Creating, like, try to alter who I am and the notion of who I am, and try to paint me in this fashion. What happened is I became a target. Well, I was a target individual all along, but what happened is they be, before I was just being gang stalked. There was a lot of street theater, but on August 19, 2019, it became now this V2K synthetic deputy EEG cloning, EEG ordining type of technology, where sophisticated technology that can not only destroy your body but manipulate your brain started to happen. They start making me have this reaction and thought process that are just nonsensical. They start manipulating me, and it's been nasty. It's been nasty, and reality is just redesigned. Literally, I just went downstairs, and thankfully I had to wear a body cam. This they use people all around. Before August 19, 2019, neighbors, all these people were all acting weird, making noise campaign, screaming things, a lot of theatrics. And today they do the same thing, but this time they react to how my brain is manipulated. For example, today I cannot look at a child without getting some kind of manipulation or reaction. It doesn't take much. Matter of fact, today it gets so bad that it doesn't even have to be a child. If somebody appears to be like can be passed for a child, somebody that's 20 years old, 22 years old, if my brain can be manipulated to think that it's a child, because at that point they still look very young, right? They can start creating this thought process. And it's non-stop. Now they do that in my memories. For example, right now they try to go back to my memories like before August 2019, when I would go to coffee shops and there's a bunch of people following me. Some of these people were like some young adult looking people, right? Some very like earthy community type of individual, like wearing their tote bags, like the type like black and all different, like community leaders type of person, like they're like in their early 20s and whatnot. They would just sit down and stare at me in the coffee shop, just looking at me. I was like, what's going on here? That's when I start thinking something's going on. It's like, no, and then now they give me stimulation sensation and try to have this creation battles in my brain. It's like, oh, you see, you got the stimulation there. I didn't get stimulation. They're acting weird. It's like, but you thought she was like, I don't care what they looked like. It was just they're acting weird. Because they're painting me now in these ways that is somebody like a Roy Moore that is trying to get with some children. It's like, now what we're doing right now, we saw that your brain, we're mapping your brain. It's like, no, you're not. You are rewiring my brain. And who's talking to me is people who are talking to me via voice to skull. Voice to skull is a technology that can pipe in voices, and you can hear people interact with you, but these people are not present. This technology has the ability to project voices into your brain, and so you also can be manipulated because your thought process at this point are rewired. They're rewired. They are rewired. For example, I just walked outside. Thank God I have my camera now. Because the worst part is they can play with my brain. I don't even need to look at somebody. They can force me to get stimulation. I don't know what this person really looks like. As I walk downstairs, some child, like, I don't even know if it's a child, like, but I will assume because of the height. That's it. As soon as I looked away, I purposely look away. She comes in. They force me to get stimulation. I can't tell you exactly what she looks like. I know she's Hispanic and she has long hair. That's it. They force me stimulation. But in fact, not only they force me stimulation, they start making me imagine part of her body to create some sexual perception of this person. Now I can only imagine that's a teenage kid. You know what she said immediately before even she doesn't even know. Like, if she had to see me seeing her, she would know. Like, I don't even know how she looked like. She said, "Oh, we mapped it," because she knew she was gonna be seen or something. As I would see something like some kind of version. Like, she'll come out. If I see her, they will force me to have some kind of reactions. I make it easy. I'm sorry. Let me repeat that. I make it obvious that my brain is manipulated because you obviously didn't really see her. I could tell her head, and that's it. I think she had a backpack of some sort, but that's it. And I know she's a teenager. Well, I know because the heights. I mean, unless she's like a short young adult, but I will give her. I will imagine her being a teenager, and this is why they forced me this stimulation. Don't know what she looks like, to the point that they are trying to make me imagine her back area to create a perception that's sexual toward this person. They have no idea what she looks like. You know what's so funny? Sometimes they give these kids like tote bags, right, to make them look like more adults instead of backpacks. I was like, Jesus, such a clown. But this is the kind of manipulation that's been happening to me. But this is at least a teenage kid, right? They do that to babies. That's the worst part. Babies, little kids, little babies, little toddlers, little infants, little like preteen babies, like kids of all ages. Those are the worst. They forced me to get this reaction, and then you have this trash trying to make you accepting of this. Now, with me, what they like to do is make me think of me when I was a child, and not even make me think of me. Try to make me think that what I'm experiencing right now is them rewiring my brain to me when I was a child in middle school. They're saying that my brain now has been rewired in ways that now my brain is the brain of my brain when I was a kid in eighth grade. And the reason why they say that is because they're like, well, when I was in middle school, when I was 13, 14 years old in eighth grade, I did this damn thing to myself as child damnness. And I bring that up all the time. But to them, they hold on to whatever they can to vilify you. And this is an act of a child. And I did this inappropriate act that really just me doing something to myself, but still inappropriate when I'm 13, 14 years old. Which I completely forgot about it because what happened is I did it once and never happened again. Completely fade away from my brain. Why? Because obviously this is an impulsive act of a child that never think about this thing. That never thought about it ever again. You know how kids can do something stupid and never do again? That's exactly that. Did something like that, never even, never, it never thought about it ever again. Completely, 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 completely faded out of my brain. True impulsive act of a child. And they're using that to say, no, you gotta pay. You're gonna die for that. Pay for what you did. And I'm like, these people are crazy. They talk about a child, damn act of a child. Especially when I remember like the age I was like, what? And the anger you would think they would be so angry. It's like, oh, pay. You need to die for it. Pay for it. And I'm like, this me when I'm a kid. I'm looking at like a middle school. It's like, what? Can you imagine a child like that doing something stupid like that? That's what a kid is capable of doing. This is before I found out the reality of what this program was. As they vilify you in these ways, say pay for what you did as a kid. I found out the reality of what this program does. They torture children. Now, what this program is, what is happening to me is not. They're not doing these things to me because they're making me pay for what I did as a child. Of course not. I mean, this is. Listen, first of all, I'm in New York City. Okay, there is real crime going on here. They not, they have real things to worry about. There's real threat to children. There's real threat to women. There's real threat to men. You think they have time to just pay for a middle school child doing some damn things to himself? You think that's in New York City on top of that? Do you understand? Like, this is a joke. No, what's happening is they use human subjects to develop this technology that they've been working on since the 60s. that can alter the mind remotely. They use human beings as guinea pigs to utilize this DoD technology, and it's big. These people are really developing some very sophisticated technology by using human subject, guinea pigs that are human. And it's not only men, it's not only adults, but also children. And there's a lot of men and women all around the world going through the same things. The torture is horrible and very consistent. They torture us psychologically by rewiring the brain in this pedophilia type of tormenting ways. They consistently change the way you perceive people, react to people, to things, to anything they want to, inclusive of even children. They have these ways of painting this false persona, try to paint the target individual a lot of times as a pedophile, and then make them experience a lot of nastiness. They do the defamation tactics, and this technology manipulate the brain for you to experience this disgusting reaction. A lot of sexual reactions manipulated is so disgusting. They are forcing you to have these nasty reactions. Then they have these perps that gaslight you every time you are forced to experience these perceptions, these thoughts, these falsified memories. And they do things like make noise campaign, they honk on everything, they slam the doors, they do all this and that to try to make you acceptive of these manipulations. They literally even rewire your dreams are manipulated. They can make you have dreams that are so disturbing. The libido is so played with, it's so disgusting. They rewire your libido. They force you to have sexual stimulation and aim those toward children. With me, on top of that, like I mentioned, the people who put me in this program very conservative, very conservative. With me, because I'm somebody who leans toward more the progressive things side of things, and because it seems like they try to counter or cover up the fact that I was put in this program by a very conservative organization, that today they have this thing where they're showing this, like they try to create this facade, which you're going to hear facades I always utilize, to make it look like that this is anything but this massive government that have been utilizing this technology on human beings to develop the technology, these weapons actually, and try to present them as this like fierce, femme fatale, avenging, protecting the community, protecting kids, all these bullshit stories. Well, the truth is, they not only are a threat to children, they are a threat to men, they're a threat to women, but they are pushing people to even not only kill themselves, which is the goal. They will try to push people to their death, but also push people to their death by making them cause mass shootings. You will hear all of that. You will hear the obvious manipulation of the thought process. You will hear the obvious manipulations of your libido. You will hear the obvious manipulation of your memories, the manipulation of your perceptions, the cognitive manipulations. You will hear that this is happening to men in this country, women in this country, children in this country, and all around the world. You will hear that this is an implementation of this tactic is used to develop technology and is happening all around the world. And then you will see where this come from, who started working on this kind of technology. And you will hear that they have these tactics of trying to counter or create a facade or create a psyop to make you believe that this is anything but this massive government doing this. And you hear clearly that the Department of Defense has been working on technology to alter the mind since the 60s, specifically DARPA and other organizations. Then you're going to hear that apparently these governmental entities like the Department of Defense and even the intelligence community has been filled with pedophiles. So when they try to gaslight you to make you believe that you are a pedophile, they do this thing where it's so comical that apparently you're the pedophile and they're protecting children. But not only they do this manipulation to rewire your brain this way, not only they torture children in for even sexual ways. You're gonna hear that too. And women, sexual torture is so rampant. They do this sexual torture that almost all target individual talk about. I think it's the most consistent torture they used to break down. Not only men but women too, and children too. You're gonna hear how they torture children, infants. This evil is done remotely by people who can be dressed in pajamas, in sweatpants, in the utmost comfort. They are human low life, but it's so sophisticated that I understand why these people want to partake in this. We're talking about the ability to control a human being, but not only the body. My body is being destroyed. I can feel my teeth slowly falling out. My teeth I really have restructured. They restructured my teeth. I feel like my teeth, they're not even mine. You know when you feel like you put somebody else, like it feels like somebody else's teeth is in my mouth. If because they've moved it, like they're not. Now I'm used to it. But then when they're doing that, I swear I was like something is wrong, and you'll hear somebody say the same thing. It's like you do this thing with your mouth because it's like you put those fake teeth. It's like what is good. I feel like my teeth just went forward. Today now I'm used to it, but you feel like your teeth have just been pushed ahead, so they can even reconstruct your body. I mean, my bones are all messed up. My knee is destroyed. Like I'm not an athlete, and I'm not an athlete. I should not have this kind of like issue with my knees. I never had this issue. I've never had issues with knees ever before, ever, never. I started wearing knee braces just because when I felt like my knee was just disconnecting. Barely worked out, but they were like moving, shifting my knees around. So they reconstruct you. It's so disgusting. But also psychologically, oh my gosh, that is the hardest part to even comprehend. This technology has the ability to not only monitor your neural network but also manipulate it. And it's just crazy, the manipulation. And they're like, oh, they're so enraged. They do so you're gonna pay for what you did. These people do these horrible things. Now they're trying to make me think that they put me in this program because they saw what I did when I was a child in middle school, and they're like, "Oh, pay for it, pay." There's so much. No, they were looking for any excuse to vilify me. But can you understand that people who get so enraged about an act of a child doing something that they have to exaggerate? A child in middle school, brain fully just developing, but somehow don't have any enragement, knowing that the program where I'm being put in is literally suffocating 7-year-old kids, literally harming the private part of children, literally harming babies to the point where they think that an infant of 3 weeks old is about to die. But somehow the anger they have of an act of a child that they have to exaggerate. I remember at the office, my last day, somebody said, "Oh, poor baby." They were trying to talk about what I did to myself as a child. I was like, why is she saying that? And today's like, now pay poor baby what you did when you were a kid. It's like, what? Today I know they tortured this 3 week. You're gonna hear the 3 week old poor baby that they torture to the point where they thought she was gonna die. This trash will try to vilify me to make me look like this threat to children, talking about me as a child while putting me in a program where they know kids are being tortured. I remember when I was at the table, and this guy, we talk about like some kind of like terrorists, right? There was a terrorist attack in Europe somewhere. They used a 13-year-old kid to drop a backpack. And I remember my coworker said something crazy. He's like, "Oh, they should hang him up upside down by his testicles or something." And I was like, "What? Is a 13-year-old kid? What do you mean?" And somebody who has a children about the same age, definitely he was like, "I'm not gonna play this dumb." It's like, he's just a 13-year-old. You just can give him a video game. He's gonna give you whatever he needs. He's a child. And today they're like, no, he was just so mad about what you did as a child. I'm like, what? He's so mad. Was he mad about what they do to children? Is he mad when you hear they torture children in these disgusting ways? You're gonna hear that. Where is the rage when you hear about how they torture these little girls that you're gonna hear? These babies, infant babies. Matter of fact, today what they do, right? They force me to have this sexual stimulation to these little girls, and all kids, all babies, boys or girls. But when these little girls, they say, "Oh, we mapped it to you as a kid," it will make you think the way you thought when you were a kid. It's like what? They're forcing me to have this nasty reaction toward these baby girls, these little girls. Then say, "No, we mapped it to you as a child." Trash, you're a retard. First of all, you are saying that you're making a brain of an adult be a brain of a child. You understand the level of stupidity. They use this purpose. Some of them are actually children. But on top of that, they torture these little girls. They torture girls with Down syndrome, these babies. As I was saying that they try to manipulate something, I was making a hand gesture to try to create this. But they torture children. And they work for governmental entities that have shown a horrible pattern that you're going to hear. They create, when this V2K thing started with me on August 2019. In 2019, or not too long before that, like a month or so, they were introducing a bill called End National Defense Network Abuse Act, because these governmental entities that are developing this technology were having issues with child porn being downloaded using the DoD network and DoD computers. They were downloading so much child porn, these employees, that they were being ranked by child protective services for downloading so much child porn. This is real life. You can't even make this up. While this trash are saying, "No, we map your brain as our girls. Look how you experience this," and manipulate me to have this experience, and say, "No, we mapped your brain to you when you were a kid." We're actually working for governmental entities that have so much issue with pedophilia that they are downloading child porn using the computers given to them by the DoD. But not only just a few people here and there, but thousands of people at the DoD doing that, to the point where they're being ranked so high for it. You gotta understand, this is insane. Now, I spoke enough. I just wanted to be clear here. From this point, you will listen to the testimonials. And it's funny how they try to gaslight you, gaslight me to make me accepting of this. Just an issue with my microphone. I know everything I have is hacked, so everything I experience, I'm like, oh, is there something they're trying to do with me? And immediately, when you even have like some kind of doubts, or any like unsure, or you're not sure about anything, they try to use that to gaslight you, to be like, you see, that's you. You see, you thought this microphone wasn't working because of us, because they've done these things to my phones and everything, that now you're suspicious of everything. You hope it's not true, and and thankfully it's not true. I was like, oh gosh, I just got this new microphone. I hope it's not something they did, but thankfully it was not the case. But by it alone is a gaslighting method. But please, target individual, I will make it clear that what they do to us is so validating that they do that to us. And these people, like I said, like this, for example, what I just expressed myself right now in regard to how they gaslight you, to them is how they can use this as validation. You see, you thought this microphone was not functioning because of us. Well, because they've done that before. Matter of fact, I have to get an external microphone because my current microphone for the phone is not working. My phone is hacked for sure. So this is why I'm suspicious of it. I don't know if it's true. I double check on that. Sometimes they do something, and I hope it's not the case, because then it's an easy fix. But sometimes they do things. So for me, it's just like, is that them? Is that okay? But one thing that I don't have doubt about is how they manipulate us. But they're gonna gaslight you whatever way possible. Whatever way. I'm gonna let this testimonial go through. Then I'm going to explain to you how some of the gaslighting are so illogical. Like the way they try to gaslight you don't even have to do with anything. For example, I'm talking about this microphone. Oh, you see this? You thought this microphone was not gonna work because you thought we did something to it. You see, it's you. That's the kind of gaslighting they use. But for me, as much as my brain can be manipulated in these retarded ways of thinking, these illogical ways, I'm just so thankful that I'm able to express myself for now. Now listen to this obvious manipulation. Like I said, starting off with the obvious manipulations. They alter the mind. This technology has the ability to alter the mind in many ways. They can make you experience thought process, reactions, stimulations, and sensations of all sorts. You're going to hear that there. You're going to hear why this is happening, what's the goal of that. You're going to hear the typical tactics that they force people to have this nasty reaction toward children. You're going to hear that. Men, women, and saying the same thing, forcing program perversion toward children. You're going to hear all of that. You're going to hear that almost all target individuals are forced to see child porn in their mind. You're going to hear the facade they try to create. For example, somebody just came in the hall with, it's like, it's going to be our murder. They have this facade to try to make you believe that this is anything but this massive government. They will make you think it's the Russian mafia, the Russian government, the Chinese government, anything but this massive government. That obviously you are using test subject. You're going to hear the obvious entities that have been working on that. You're going to hear the Department of Defense, DARPA, been working on it since the 60s on how to alter the mind. You're going to hear the issues from these DOD entities when it comes specifically to pedophilia and how pedophilia centric these people are and the issues they have. You're going to hear how they torture women, how sexual torture is commonly utilized, and other torture. But even sexual torture is applied onto children and other torture. And finalize this by hearing what some men ended up doing, causing mass shootings. Some of them testifying, say, I'm a target individual and this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. And you know what they try to gaslight you with? Oh, you thought this microphone was not working because of us. You see, we're not manipulating you. These people have no shame. Target individual, please listen to this.
Able to impose any information on the brain of a person, presumably by some kind of waves, which in the mind take the form of voices, thoughts and images and imagination. In addition to this kind of implanting information that they need, they manipulate the psyche so that the information is written into your memory. Then by stimulating the certain regions in the brain they can retrieve this information and present it as your own memory. This is the conclusion that can be made judging by the influence they have been making on me with their psychotronic weapons, for example artificial thoughts, imagination, and mental torture.
V2K, or voice to skull. This involves the projection of voices, noises, and music directly into my mind to communicate with me in real time, and at the speed of thought. And it also includes the manipulation of thoughts, emotions, and perceptions in the person's mind. Additionally, the targeting is all highly perverted and sexual, as well as just
that can pipe voices into an individual's head. And once you can do that, you can control them using neuro-linguistic programming techniques. You're rewiring their thought processes and brains. And so this gets into what's called offensive information warfare. And call it a eugenics program even. And they need to sample all cultures, language throughout the world to define their probability matrices of which tricks, techniques, deception works. But also walk them to the manipulate people to do things that are irrational, but also walk them to their death. And so you can call it a eugenics program. How do you, they want to see if they can, there's something called hyper game theory. How do you, they want to see if they can manipulate people to do things that are irrational, but also walk them to their death.
name's Dr. John Hall. I'm a medical doctor from Texas. As I understand the memorandum from the president, it's for you to determine if current legislation is adequate in protecting individuals and if there's any ongoing experimentation. In reviewing the common rule, it's very obvious that there's a lot of loopholes to informed consent. All of the horrific experiments you've mentioned, Willowbrook, MK Ultra, radiation experiments, mostly were done without informed consent. They were funded by the DoD and intelligence agencies, where I'm not even so sure you would know if there's an IRB, much less if an IRB is looking at informed consent. As a physician, relative to some of what you're hearing today, in the community, we are seeing an alarming rate of complaints of use of electromagnetic weapons, microwave auditory effects, silent sound spectrum, EEG cloning, which has taken the lab out of the laboratory and into the home. Most of these, from the research that we reviewed, can be done remotely. It seems to be more weapons research than medical research. I personally corresponded with upwards of 1,500 victims, all complaining of identical complaints from every state in the nation of being exposed to electromagnetic radiation, non-ionizing radiation for the use of cognitive control or behavior control. I've submitted a paper to you, and there's another paper submitted to each member from another physician in Kansas City, alluding to the same thing.
You might guess that this person developed delusional disorder. This is a paranoid schizophrenia. But first of all, nobody develops paranoid schizophrenia in the 50s, in their 50s. This is, if you have developed it by 30, it's not. Then this technology exists. These nefarious programs exist. And it's hard to imagine for a person that why would you do something like this? But if you think about the new type of warfare,
cognitive warfare.
Exactly, it's a cognitive warfare. You don't have to kill people that you are fighting against. You can just degrade their brain. You can
you alter their minds.
Yeah, alter their minds.
Personalities.
And it's like Chinese torture. I mean, okay, so.
In 1965, DARPA launched Project Pandora, which studied the possibility of using microwave radiation to control human behavior. The project reportedly ended in 1969, but DARPA's investigation of how machines can affect and possibly control the brain continues to this day. Human mind can be altered.
Of that it's a machine and not your actual family that's berating you. And mind control is so powerful. These weapons and voice to God. I mean, you have no ability to discern, like looking at a television, what goes into your mind. It is directly stimulating those neurons.
Trying to interact with the human nervous system in order to remotely pick up on someone's neural network or EEG, and not only receive that and monitor it, but manipulate it and place it back into the victim to control their emotions or control their actions or bodily functions, for that matter. The other more recent term we have for that is EEG heterodyning or EEG cloning. The difference between EEG heterodyning and EEG cloning would be, let's say, me remotely receiving your EEG and then duplicating it and putting that in another person to give them your same thoughts or feelings or physical reactions. EEG heterodyning would be receiving your EEG, manipulating it to put it back inside your head to give us a desired physical reaction or emotional reaction.
It's dramatic. It's somebody trying to end my life. It's somebody trying to end who I am as a person. It's somebody trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of pedophilia. It's disgusting, disgusting, disgusting. disgusting things. You saw where I was going with that first word. Somebody trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of pedophilia. It is dramatic. It's somebody trying to end my life. It's somebody trying to end who I am as a person. It's somebody trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of pedophilia. This disgusting things. You saw where I was going with that first word. Disgusting things that I don't even want to talk about because it makes me sick. I don't even like those words in my mind. But it is what it is. So I have no choice now but to acknowledge that there are people in my surroundings or whatever they're doing. I don't know how they do it.
This is a common breakdown tactic of belief systems and the human will. In no-touch torture, the techniques are more psychologically specialized for each target. Most common examples include homosexual targets that are forced with voices that are derogatory to their lifestyle and similar mental images. Almost all targets are forced to view child pornography in their minds, and vice versa.
Referred to as malodorants. This is the alteration of the smell sensation so that I am often made to smell various things, including smoke, burning, dirty diaper, or baby powder, which they sometimes combine with the pedophilia type of torture, including the threat of planted dreams. I also often see highly disturbing pornographic images and videos, including highly disturbing pedophilia type of images and videos when I close my eyes.
Behavior modification for the undesirable, and that's one of the excuses this groups give for the neighbor TO join. Deception. I learned to talk back, in my mind, during the process when I was awakened, and I would say demeaning things, that I cannot repeat it in this blog, you know what I mean. Since they had violated me for so long, I decided to aggravate them with words, in my mind. I can hear my own voice. I told them I'm going to make you pay for all of the years of torture that I've taken, and all you are going to hear is aggravation. For every single second of my privacy that you have taken away. From me and my family. Ben said this: the slaves began a program of perversion. First was with my dog. I am very playful with my pet, and suddenly one day that I was petting him I felt strange, in the sense of the word. I thought, this is strange, and then afterwards that strange sensation continued. Then in that moment I realized that was impost, so I thought, look at this losers, don't know how to put me down, and they are doing this. So I told them that I know what you are trying to do, and I started laughing, and then I said again out loud, you'll never take my will, ass. So just to show them that I meant what I said, I kept playing with my dog, and even though that attacks continue, I don't let them get me. Today they continue with the programming of perversion, but this time they are aiming in the use of people, better said young people, also children and homosexuals.
Okay. Now, it's kind of easy to see there's a pattern here. Right? There's a pattern on how they torment people. There's a pattern regarding what this is about. And it's clear that, unfortunately, what's happening to us, target individual, is that we're just guinea pigs, basically. The government is utilizing human subjects to develop technology that can alter the mind, rewire the mind, and I mean, at least on us, it's utilized as a weapon. Now, obviously, this can be utilized for something better than that, a positive thing. But unfortunately, that's not the case for us. For us, it seems like it's used to break us down. It's used in a way to see what kind of trickery, schemes, manipulations can be utilized to break down the target individual. It's funny. They excuse me for the saliva thing. They're doing things to me that makes me react a certain way. So my body's being hit in certain ways that makes me salivate or even burp. You heard earlier, and this is what they do to me. But they use perps of all ages, and it's crazy. They use childlike individuals involved in this program. I mean, for me, it does somewhat help. What it helps in is kind of helps put things in perspective. Because you heard clearly that they manipulate us to have this nasty reaction. You hear this woman saying they force her to have this program perversion and aiming toward children. That alone to just let you know this is something they do, that to break you down. But she's not the only one. There's others. So you start seeing that they have these tactics of breaking target individuals, which is pedophilia centric. As one woman called it, is the pedophilia type of torture. Let me just bring that up, how she called it, because I've been using the same terminology ever since. She called it the pedophilia type of torture, and ever since then, I've been using the same word, and it kind of shows really that that's what they do. This is what she says here.
Experience what is referred to as malodorance. This is the alteration of the smell sensation so that I am often made to smell various things, including smoke, burning, dirty diaper, or baby powder, which they sometimes combine with the pedophilia type of torture, including the threat of planted dreams and videos.
And so you hear that they do the pedophilia type of torture. But it's more than just the pedophilia type of torture. They then try to make you acceptive of this. With me, there's been all kind of weird thought process to try to make me acceptive of this. I mean, some of this thought process gets to the point where, hey, we know that you like women who are light skinned, black women that are tall. You see, so because of that, or something like that. I mean, which is not even true in the sense that it's not because they're light skinned or not, but they do these things. Oh, you like white women that are like this and that. Like, it's just, and they try to bring whatever they can to try to make you acceptive of this manipulation. Some of them is just stupidity. Some of them have nothing to do with something or with anything else. I mean, the thought process that these men talk about, but it's like games they play to make you acceptive of this manipulation. It's just no joke. It's just disgusting. Well, it's not no joke. What I'm trying to say is, it's just really a lot of manipulation. Matter of fact, as I'm speaking right now, I'm having issues speaking, as you can see. My thoughts are going everywhere. That's because they're just forcing me to say things that I'm not trying to say. So this is part of this manipulations, and it's what you hear when they call it forced speech, which is also included here. But I'm not going to bring that up because it's just I want to make sure that we go through everything. But there's a lot of manipulation to make you acceptive. Oh, it's funny right now, and I'm just going to give you an example, just a random example. And I know it's going to sound like gibberish, but these thought manipulations, these thought process manipulations, like this. I'm watching this thing about like it's a comedy, right? And I just want to give you an example of how this thought process can be manipulated to make you accepting of these things. And it's about like this guy making fun of, like, it's like a or skit type of show. Was meant to be comedic, right? It's supposed to be funny, and it's about like this baseball player and the things they do, and this baseball player is supposed to be like this Hispanic people, right? They're not Hispanic, but they're acting like this Hispanic group of people. And so I live around this area where there's a bunch of Hispanic people, and this thing is supposed to be funny. I know it's supposed to create a false reality of by a comical reality, and it's funny, but then they try to make me think in certain ways to try to make me feel embarrassed, because I know that what's happening to me is my brain is manipulated and also monitored. So they are manipulating me, and I know that there's a bunch of people watching the manipulations, right? And because I'm around in the neighborhood with a lot of Hispanic, they're supposed to do something that's supposed to like make me feel embarrassed. But to me, it's just, I get it. They try to make me think this way, but it's actually a funny thing, and they try to change it in a way that's supposed to make me feel embarrassed. But my point of me bringing up things like that they manipulate is to try to convince you that these manipulations are not manipulation, but as obvious as it gets, they still do it. They are doing everything. The manipulation you cannot mistake. Listen, some of the things they do to gaslight me, to make me acceptive of this, makes no sense. For example, I'm currently employed, right? They use whatever thought process during my employment to make me acceptive of this. Anything that can bring doubts. For example, and by the way, one thing is for sure, for me, like I said, since I've been employed, especially after August 2019, my employer made sure that I know that they were participant, right? And they do things to disorient you, to confuse you. So what happens is you will have some kind of trust issues because you know the reality of what this is about. They do things to try to break you down. But so you don't know if this person is reaching out to you because it's truly an issue, or is he trying, or she's trying to disorient you, right? It's a lot of both. But when is a case where truly you need to do something, but you had some suspicion of it? Sometimes they force you to have these thoughts of suspicion because at one point you get it. It's like, okay, you guys want me to think this way, so then later on you find out that's not really that way, right? So they make me think that this person is doing that just to disorient me, but reality is actually that this need to be done, right? Then they do that so much that you understand that this is what they're gonna do, right? So, but they still force you to think this way. My point is, when you think that way, where you're not sure if this person is doing that to disorient you or not, and you find out, okay, this is something you need to do. They're like, oh, you see, you thought was us. You thought that this person wanted this, but and that was trying to disorient you. But you see that he was honest. So this is you. Those manipulations are not us. We're mapping. Like, this is the kind of games they play. You make an error working. You think something is something else, but you thought it was something that just you working. Oh, you see, it's you. We're not manipulating you. And then they do a lot of deflection when you see things for what they are. For example, right now I'm putting these things together. You know what they say? This purpose. This is things like they're gonna rape your butt. They say these things to deflect me from putting things in perspective because I show how I'm able to put things in perspective. And they try to disorient your target individual into be confused and acceptive. When the reality is it's obvious manipulation. They are rewiring your thought process and they are confusing, manipulating you, and disorienting you to the point where they want you to be acceptive to these manipulations. But you hear clearly that this is a trend they do. Let me repeat that. It is a consistent tactic. Let me repeat that. A consistent tactic utilized to consistently break you down. If I'm saying that word, they try to rewire me in this way because they torment me in certain ways to try to confuse things. And you're going to hear that word consistent again because this is a top issue that you're going to hear. Now, let me just say this. Perps do their best to make you believe that this is anything else but a massive government doing that. For me, they've been making me think that they are this just avenging group of femme fatale, these protectors of the community, these avengers of some sort. I mean, comical. That they are here avenging and protecting their girls. It's truly a funny. Oh, it's like it's annoying, it's agitating, but it is comical at the same time because you see who these people are. And then sometimes, I mean, they come in all shape and form. And for example, I'm employed. I see this person who's a client, and I'm looking at her. I can't believe this. It's a grown adult woman, and she has no shame to try to make me think this way. It gets to the point where I don't even see her co-workers involved in this because it's so embarrassing to try to paint this falsified reality. And for me, it's been this disgusting facade, right? Because They think that their gender, them being women, makes them look like this like fierce femme fatale group of feminists or protectors of women that are avenging and fierce. It's so fraudulent because you're gonna hear what they do to women, and it's obviously part of this psyop. And you heard the entities that have been working on technology that can alter the mind since the 60s. You heard DARPA with the Project Pandora being a project where they utilize the electromagnetic frequencies to see how they can alter the mind since the 60s. This, what you heard, the snippet there, was coming from a History Channel. But they want me to look at them. It's like, look at us. We are this fierce group of feminists or femme fatale. But this facade is so destroyed. I don't even understand how they even want to still maintain that, because at this point it's embarrassing. It's not even, it's comical. It's an insult to actually women who are trying to fight for women, protecting women, because you're going to hear what they do to women in this program. And now I'll come back to that. But listen to the facade. Listen to the facade. The facade that is something they do. This facade, this way of trying to present a reality where apparently this is everything but this massive government that have been working on this technology that can alter the mind, is something they do to the target individual. And target individuals, when you see that facade, please don't fall for the facade. Understand governmental entities such as the Department of Defense are behind this. Do not think that whatever you see is really what is happening. What you see is what they want you to see. It's not the reality of what it is. Listen to this sorry, let me you heard me just being manipulated to say something else. Listen to this individual who talks about this creation of false stories to make you believe that anything this massive government is in charge of this. Listen to this.
This gets into creating Manchurian candidates, split personality spies, and information couriers, people that will carry the V2K. So they'll say, we're the Russian government, we're the Chinese government, we're evil aliens, we're Satan's, satanic ritual abuse. And I've heard all these stories. One guy believed it was some 14-year-old kid with an Xbox that lived next door. The trickery really is that great when you're under hypnosis that people will believe something other than a massive government could do this.
So you hear that, right? Try to make you believe that this thing is anything but this massive government that can do that. Now, why am I bringing that up, right? Not only just because I want to show that these people have these ways of trying to paint these false stories. For me, it's like, no, you're gonna pay for what you done to this person or this and that, or for what you did as a child. Before I get to that point, because you're gonna hear what these people do, not only to children but to women, and it's horrible. It's gonna be horrible, but I'm not gonna bring that up until we get to that point, because one thing they do to us, like you heard before, is this pedophilia type of torture. They force us, target individual, they force us to experience these nasty reactions, right, toward children. It's obvious. For me, they make me experience these things like, now we mapped it to you as a child, and this and that. I was like, first of all, it doesn't make sense. But the truth is, you heard it. They have these tactics of altering the mind in these disgusting ways to break you down, to degrade you. They utilize these tactics as a cognitive warfare tactic in these games that they play, and then do whatever they need to do to make you accept you of these manipulations. But these entities actually have issues with pedophilia. These DoD entities have had, and not only the DoD entities, let me just say this, the DoD entities and the intelligence community have been commonly have issues where there's so many employees downloading child porn using the computers provided to them by these DoD employers, by these intelligence community employers. DoD specifically, their network was utilized so much for downloading child porn that in 2018 there was a bill, not even a bill, there was a ranking based on internet network with the most child porn being accessed and trafficking, peer-to-peer child porn trafficking. The DoD ranked 19th out of 2,900 for the most child porn, volume of child porn trafficked, accessed, and shared peer-to-peer in 2018. This ranking came from Child Protective Services. Listen to this.
Has come under investigation for links to the proliferation of graphic material called Project Flickr. Some 5,000 individuals have been identified as having subscriptions to child porn sites, including many DoD affiliated persons. So this ongoing national investigation has now prompted the House to introduce a bipartisan bill that would help the DoD stop the use of its network to, quote, possess, procure, or produce child pornography. Joining us to discuss this, investigative journalist Ben Swan. So Ben, the Pentagon already takes measures to limit worker access to stuff like porn by rolling out what they call the Personal Electronic Device PED policy, where workers have to drop off their phones and lockers before entering their offices. All their online searches are accessible by security if or when needed. Their Wi-Fi access is monitored in digital security sweeps. So how is this happening?
Well, it's happening because even though there is a certain amount of limitation on access, those who are working in the Department of Defense, clearly it appears to be thousands of individuals in the Department of Defense, are finding ways around this, specifically by using the Department of Defense IP addresses and also apparently peer-to-peer sharing within the department's network. So this study that was done on this issue, and it is pretty horrifying, Manila, to consider this. It shows that the Department of Defense ranked 19th out of almost 3,000 networks in terms of peer-to-peer sharing of child pornography. That is absolutely incredible. This bill attempts to essentially say, look, we're not doing enough to stop it from coming in, but we're also not doing enough in the Department of Defense to go after those individuals who are being recognized as the ones who are perpetrating this.
So Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger is the co-author to this bill. She said this, quote, the notion that the Department of Defense's network and Pentagon-issued computers may be used to view, create, or circulate such horrifying images is a shameful disgrace and one we must fight head on. Now, the fact that the Pentagon workers, be they civil or military or otherwise, already submit to a gauntlet of daily scrutiny just going in and out of work, is it fair then to the tens of thousands who are completely innocent to further allow that much more government intrusion into their digital devices or the things that they're dealing with on their computers?
Well, remember that what's being talked about here is not an intrusion into someone's personal device or even their home. This is about saying Department of Defense computers are being misused to share, to spread, to access child pornography. And when you step into an office...
So this is that bad. It's that horrible. You understand? That there is an obvious issue with pedophilia in those entities. I mean, just to be clear, this is the study that this man was talking about, and I'm gonna slow motion it in the sense that you can hear the slow motion here. Please listen to this.
Services. The Defense Department network consistently ranks in the top tier of internet service providers for trafficking child pornography. It ranked 19th of nearly 3,000 networks surveyed in 2018. Meadows said.
So this is what this man was saying. But this is not only like in the bill that they were talking about was introduced in 2019. The ranking that you heard about this rank, the top tier rank, is a rank provided and given to them by the Child Protective Services in 2018. The consistently more. There was this investigation, but actually immigration, because they were investigating this website, this child porn website that was ran by some, I believe, Belarusian and Ukrainian crime ring, that would basically a website where there's child porn, and it's a subscription based child porn website ran by this international organization crime from Belarus and Ukraine. So this is why immigration was investigating that. And guess who they saw being some of the subscribers? They started seeing a bunch of DOD employees being some of these people registering, oh, what's the word again? Be subscribers to it. Listen to this.
Sensitive secrets, potentially making this. The Defense Department releasing brand new details into an investigation involving child pornography and dozens of its workers and contractors, some with top-level security clearance. Not only are these very serious accusations, but investigators say some of the people involved were handling the nation's most sensitive secrets, potentially making this a matter of national security. Chief Fox Report correspondent Jonathan Hunt with the news. Appalling story, Jonathan. Do we know more about these people and their security clearances?
Well, we don't know their exact job titles, John, but what we do know is that they did appear to be working, some of them, at high levels across a range of government agencies. Take a look at this, for instance, the National Security Agency, the National Reconnaissance Office, and the very secretive Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency.
That's DARPA. Oh, and then there was this BuzzFeed article that calls out the fact there's a bunch of pedophiles in the CIA and other agencies. Listen to this. I'm going to try to fast forward, but I want to bring all of it to reality. Listen to that.
They're following the handbook perfectly.
2-year-old and a 6-year-old. He was simply fired. One employee purchased sexually their mothers. He resigned. One employee estimated that he had viewed up to 4-year-old. He was simply fired. One employee purchased sexually explicit videos of young girls filmed by their mothers. He resigned. One employee estimated that he had viewed up to 1,400 sexually abusive images of children while on agency assignments. Not sure what actions, if any, were taken by him. So disturbing. At a symposium in 2016, Daniel Payne, a top Pentagon security official, said that when workers' computers were examined, the amount of child porn I see is just unbelievable. Is this something that is happening?
So you hear this. This came from a BuzzFeed article that just were pointing out that there's a issue here. There's a trend with pedophilia at the CIA, and also called out the other entities. But did you catch what this Daniel Payne said in 2016, saying the amount of child porn he's seeing? And Daniel Payne was like a security guy and cybersecurity guy at the DoD Pentagon. He said the amount of child porn I keep seeing, and this is in 2016, before the study, the amount of child porn he was seeing while working as this cybersecurity guy at the DoD, the amount of child porn he was seeing on the computers, on the government computers, were unbelievable. That's before the study came up, ranking the DoD network as a top tier child porn trafficking network. It's so nasty. And this person said this thing, which is a good question.
Why are so many pedophiles allowed to be given top-level security clearance? Remember, these aren't just people walking in off the street and saying, hey, can I get hired? Can I get a job? You're put through an extremely rigorous background check screening process. It's called an SSBI, single scope background investigation. There are people, they interview you, I get hired, can I get a job? Why are so many pedophiles allowed to be given top level security clearance. Remember, these aren't just people walking in off the street and saying, hey, can I get hired? Can I get a job? You're put through an extremely rigorous background check, screening process. The street and saying, hey, can I get hired? Can I get a job? You're put through an extremely rigorous background check, screening process. It's called an SSBI, single scope background investigation. There are people, they interview you, they interview your family, they interview your contacts, they go through your online footprint, they go through everything. So why is it that when they're going through these footprints, they're not checking, these digital footprints, they're not checking for so many pedophiles getting through their ranks? If it were up to me, you need to go into Congress, and Congress needs to launch a brand new church committee, number one, to talk about domestic surveillance operations, but number two, to ask the question, why are there so many pedophiles sitting behind
CIA raping children and sexually assaulting children, and they're not being prosecuted? Where are you?
So, this is not only some issue that is happening on the DoD, but apparently CIA also has these issues. But my point is clearly there's a issue and pedophilia issue that is not just a few people here and there. We're talking about a consistent issue with pedophilia. Consistently ranked at the top tier for trafficking child porn. This pedophilia issue is a top tier issue, just like they ranked as top tier. So it's just obvious. But it's part of this irony that is just like amazing. As a target individual, these people try to paint you as this thing that they actually not only manipulate you to experience, but not only the manipulations, but the truth is they are working for governmental entities where this is truly an issue, and then they try to make you accept this stupidity of logic. Now we're mapping your brain in this ways and that we're doing our research and studies. Like the research is finding out that you guys are the pedophiles, and they use this perps who are compared to some of them are clowns. And they try to agitate you in ways and talk in certain ways. I'm like, via V2K. And I'm like, you guys are just childlike trash. I mean, you're going to see these people I interact with. I have body cam. You see these people. They're like, okay. It's just I mean, it's just comic. That's the best way I can describe it. But it's obvious that they're just the implementers. They're contracted to do this to people running this program. The same entity you just hear about this issue with pedophilia. I gotta apologize because it's hard for me to speak, but I will speak until I can, especially when it's about this. Now, you hear how they are vilifying us, these people working for pedophiles, doing these horrible things to us, using us as test subjects, are vilifying target individuals. Not only they're manipulating us in this disgusting ways, but they also vilify us. They're involved in a program that does these horrible things to men and women. Men and women tortured, children tortured. Let's start off with the women. I'm gonna, at this point, you're not gonna hear from me until the testimonials of these women are done. But you're gonna hear how they torture women. Let's start with this person called Megan. You're gonna hear her horrible torture. Then we're gonna hear the rest. Listen to how they torture women. With me, not too long ago, some trash was saying, and now, and they use, for me, they've been using these women or whoever, these people, for me, for example, Courtney and Brittany. Those are women that they're saying that they're doing it for you. For Courtney, you did this to, I was like, first of all, don't not say this name, because you would torture her the way you're going to hear they torture women if she's put in this program. There's a lot of women being tormented and tortured by this trash. Then they try to use these women to say they're doing it for them. It's like, who? For Courtney? For Brittany? Brittany, thankfully, I was able to talk to her. She's living her life. The reason why I just talked to her, I know, of course, I did not impact her life, but I know that this trash want to use whoever they can use to vilify you, to make it seem like they're doing it for you. I'm like, how's life? Brittany as I was able to capture to talk to her via some like Facebook Messenger. She's telling me her life is great. She's living her best life with her children. I mean, she's saying she's living a normal life with her children, making the best of her life with her kids, living her best life with her kids. Do you know these people got so frustrated that one of this perp who was trying to make me subscribe to this fantasy that these people are some kind of feminist protectors of women, she got so frustrated that she was my roommate. She moved, sorry, she went to the rooftop, this like emergency rooftop, emergency exit rooftop. She went there and started sitting there and working there because she was exposed by the reality of things that you don't care about Brittany. You're just using her to create this facade. And I know they don't care about Courtney too. Unfortunately, I'm not able to get a hold of her because I don't, I've just, there's something that happened that I met her once, actually maybe twice. And so I don't really have any relationship with her. I never actually had a relationship with her. But they even tried to make it look like they were doing it for her. During COVID, they brought this black woman who was light skinned, made her wear a weave of some sort, or a wig, a blonde wig, or blonde weave, and tried to make me believe this is Courtney. We're doing it for her. Can you imagine? First of all, Courtney is not black, she's a white woman. This is COVID, New York City. Nobody's flying. They were trying to make me think. No, we're doing for her. No, she's living her life. I know she doesn't even care about me. Her life has not been destroyed by me. I'm not expect of a worry about her. She's not, but you're trying to paint that picture because these people are involved in this program that torture women and do horrible things. They talk about anal and whatever. And I was like, please, you want to hear the reality of what they do to women sexually. Your storylines, the way you painted these stories. But in fact, they torment these women, and because hospitals are part of hospitals for us target individuals, don't treat us normally. We're not treated by doctors the right way. Matter of fact, we don't even get treated sometimes because those entities are also compromised by these governmental entities. So women could get raped, and even that is not treated accordingly because they're target individuals. Listen to the testimony here.
Went to bed. And they had, all of a sudden, I had been there like 4 or 5 days, and then use their telephone, so I could make airline, flight, because all I wanted to do was leave Chicago. And so I figured I'd make my plans in a hotel. I didn't think that they could hack the hotel. I was very naive back then. I didn't understand the full technology spectrum or even interest, and all I wanted to do was leave. So I was at a hotel on a relatively high floor, and they had... all of a sudden, I had been there like 4 or 5 days, and the night before I was attacked really bad, I noticed a maintenance man about 10 or 11 o'clock at night messing with all of the lights up and down the hallway. And as, I'm sorry, I get kind of upset when I think about this because it's really messed up. And my spidey sense went off, and I was really kind of nervous about like what the hell he was doing out there, because he was kind of a sinister, he was real creepy kind of person. So so the next night, I believe it was a Friday night, I went to bed. I had all of the doors, all the locks on the door, even the one that kind of like goes over that you can't open from the outside. I had everything locked up. Figured I was safe. I went to bed maybe about 1 o'clock in the morning. I woke up about 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, bleeding out of every hole, sick. Someone was in my room, or had been in my room. Food was missing. My dogs were traumatized. I had been obviously sexually assaulted in all the worst ways possible. I got up, first thing I did was vomit. And all I wanted to do was I was just in shock. There was a do not disturb sign on my door, and I didn't do this. And there was lotion all over my bathroom floor. All I wanted to do was just get on a plane and get the hell away from everybody. And I was, very, very sick and in a lot of pain. I had already been denied a rape kit when I owned my house, and woke up, and my hair had obviously been pulled out, and there were earplugs in my bed. And I felt like someone had done something. I went to Palos Community Hospital under the directions of a non-compromised police officer who told me that if anything happened, to go right to the hospital. So I did. And I had a compromised doctor who treated me like a third-rate citizen and said she would give me an STD test and a drug test. But she refused me a rape kit. And so I had already been kind of traumatized with hospitals anyway, and honestly just wanted to leave. So I stayed in my room until about checkout.
So yesterday I went to the beach and drank a couple of beers and just sat down there after laying in bed and sobbing for 2 hours because the private parts of my body were being burned and my breasts are removed. And it's the trauma from it. It's not being able to cope with the pain and the emotional trauma that comes from someone harming me using, I guess, remote medical technology is my best guess. I went and saw a dermatologist in the state of Maine in May. I just woke up after a pretty rough night. The same thing happened last night as the night before, which was whenever I was trying to go to sleep, the private parts of my body began being burned again, and it felt like someone pushing out something inside of my body. So, yeah, that's what I am up against today. But the abuse last night was pretty weird. Mouth feels just like my teeth are like pressed forward, and I don't know. It's a lot of strange things. I've been doing some research, I guess what it's called, organized stalking. I'm called a targeted individual. But the abuse last night was pretty extreme. I can feel it's going to be the same again today. Already on the harming of the private parts of my body. I don't really know what to do. I tried to go to a doctor to get some kind of pain medicine because what actually happens to me, what is happening to me is my actual physical body is being burned. So it causes me to go into shock, and it's excruciatingly painful. And I have my limitations on the duration and length of pain that I can handle. So it was a couple of weeks ago, I asked him what he was doing there, and he said that I needed to stay in my room. And I asked why, and he said that essentially they wanted to keep an eye on me for a while. And I was like, okay, for how long? And he was like, well, we haven't decided that yet. And I was like, all right, well, I'm leaving. But it definitely felt like if I talk about what's happening to me, that I'm being retaliated against. And I know the logical mind is like, well, everyone can't be involved. But it seems that, I don't know, if the government has the right to watch and the proper paperwork, just walk right in and take over a hospital. And it seems that that is a very real reality in a lot of capacities of the things that I've faced. So today, just kind of just feeling some pretty general fear about my own safety, because the government's burning the private parts of my body. All of that today, this morning, not even noon yet here, and already I'm experiencing the pain and the harm to my body, to the private parts of my body. It's just hard to feel hopeful, like just wake up and get out of bed and not know like what a day will bring, and just trying to maintain some level of hope, and just in the midst of such heinous abuse, just this, it's terrifying, it's terrorizing.
Next week. Hello, my name is Kimberly Buckner, and I have been a targeted individual for a very long time. The things I have experienced due to being targeted, they have been unreal. But however, I can personally attest that this is very real indeed. My life has been destroyed in every possible way, and every day has been a struggle for me. I'm very grateful to be before you today, due to Amy Anderson's due diligence and to everyone else involved. I thank you, council members, for giving us targeted individuals a chance to speak and to be heard. And I pray that these atrocities will soon be brought to an end. But we need your help. Thank you. Alex. Worked for the Defense Department. She worked on the global mapping of that system. And when I told her what I was going through, all she could say was, "You're on your own." Well, I figured that out. If you would please, I urge you to pass this. I realize you can't enforce it, but if you would pass it, it might give other communities the courage to do the same thing and show our Defense Department we are not the enemy. We are not to be attacked. We are not terrorists. Most of us are defenseless women. Okay, thank you.
Pinpoint one person, it's everybody, it's all the time, it's your character and your state of mind, which, starts to make everybody believe something's wrong with you, and then you start believing something's wrong with you. But it's not you, and you know that it's not you. It's just hard to prove. But don't go get, mental health help. Don't see a psychologist or psychiatrist. Most of the time, they're involved too. Your police are involved. ambulance, people at hospitals, they're all involved. And it's unfortunate. Ambulance, most of the time they're involved too. Your police are involved, your firemen, ambulance, people at hospitals, they're all involved. And it's unfortunate that we live in a society that gets a kick out of doing people like that. But it is what it is. The only thing you can do is stay strong doing people like that. But it is what it is. The only thing you can do is stay strong and focus on the people you love. I was lucky enough to have my mother, who was going through the same thing that I was going through. They started saying all kind of crazy stuff to her at her jobs. And
yesterday I went to the beach and drank a couple of beers and just sat down there after laying in bed and sobbing for 2 hours because the private parts of my body were being burned and my breasts are moved. And it's the trauma from it. It's not being able to cope with the pain and the emotional trauma that comes from someone harming me using, I guess, remote medical technology is my best guess. I went and saw a dermatologist involving many combinations of sensory and motor manipulation of my mind and body and of the people around me. This includes many different types of zaps to varying degrees to the genitals, butt, anus, and the entire pelvic area. This also includes many kinds of movements, such as the rocking, swaying, jolting, vibrating, and shaking of my entire body or various body parts, specifically in a sexual way. The severe vibration is a highly noxious stimuli and is very intolerable. They sometimes do pulses or throbbing sensations on the genitals too, etc. There are also body movements such as rocking my pelvic area back and forth, repeated rubbing sensations, the sensation of something going up my crotch and in and out, etc. They also often force vaginal discharges and zap my genitals at the same time. These sexual assaults are present throughout the day, every day, and anytime I am awakened at night, every night. They range from mild to extreme, but usually involve daily and nightly continuous assaults for the past 3 years now. When severe, the zaps to the genitals feel as though someone is electrocuting my genitals repeatedly.
Injustice.
You mean as far as the Justice Department feeling me?
Well, in terms of you being a victim.
I mean, what I'm feeling?
Yeah, explain a little bit to me how you perceive yourself as being.
I have actual photographs of burns on my body. When I went to my doctor, the response was, "How do I know you didn't do that to yourself? How do you even address that?" I've passed 2 psychological evaluations, not 1 but 2. The one physician said, "You're mentally sound as a bell." He said, "I don't have any idea what's going on with you." When I go to sleep, when I go to try to sleep, I feel like I'm being lit up like a Christmas tree. I feel every cell in my body just bouncing out of my body. I can't even describe it. I get electric shock up my rectum. I get electric shock up my nose. I've woken up with burns on the end of my tongue. I've had burns on the palms of both my hands. I vibrate.
Comment, and maybe the thing to do is to just dive into that. I want to remind you before we do that the commission, of course, is charged by President Obama to be looking at bioethical issues generated by novel and emerging research in biomedicine and related areas of science and technology and to promote policies and practices that assure ethical responsibility. And remind you that the specific charge on this meeting has been around looking at on the topic of federal standards regarding human subjects research. So with that background and the amount of, each person I believe has a minute and a half is the way we've been able to try to cram in as many comments as possible. So, Juan, if you're ready for the first.
Ms. Cassandra Lewis?
Hi, Ms. Lewis.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Cassandra Lewis, and I'm a targeted individual from Baltimore, Maryland. My story may sound disjointed. I'm trying to keep it within the minute and a half. I worked as a legal secretary at Hogan & Hartson in Washington, D.C. It is now called Hogan Lovells. Attorney Jan McDavid made a client mistake that she tried to blame on me. I then refused to work for Ms. McDavid. Shortly thereafter, strange and inexplicable events occurred on my job, and after being fired, followed me to my home and to all my travels. Attorney Christopher J. Hagan, formerly of Hogan & Hartson, Mr. Samuel Conrad, he's a retired security administrator of Hogan & Hartson, and Robert Johnston, who is the current firm administrator of Hogan Lovells, are responsible for my targeting. I believe to protect Ms. McDavid's reputation, a phone call was made to whom and why they did this to me. I truly just speculate. Gang stalking and harassment was used to implement this non-consensual biotechnology application that is being used on me. I now experience involuntary limb movements. I receive stingings. I get pains to my head, to my abdomen, to my vaginal area, and to my anal area. I am receiving from...
In a way, I'm very sorry to address you like this because I think that what you're doing is very admirable. But I'm here to represent this other group, and I am also targeted, and this is my story. My name is Sandra Field. I'm an architect, recipient of Who's Who of Women in America Achievement Award, and have run a successful business for over 28 years. My life and livelihood have been compromised for the last 11 years by being attacked by electromagnetic radiation torture and by organized stalking. I cannot live in my rent-stabilized apartment in New York City as a result of this torture. I'm currently staying in motels and friends' houses in the last year. Thousands of Americans are currently suffering from chemical, electromagnetic, psychological, and physical torture.
Miss Anya Briggs?
My name is Anya Briggs, and I am a private citizen and resident of New York City. I have been and continue to be experimented on against my will and without my permission as a human test subject and as a targeted individual forced into trauma-based mind control programs. Because of this ongoing experimentation, torture, and abuse since 2008 and before, I have endured the following physical and psychological symptoms: extreme, debilitating, and chronic fatigue, weakness, and dizziness for days and weeks at a time. Lack of motor control, as well as the sensation of being physically controlled by an unseen force. My left arm occasionally...
My name is Leslie Crawford. I'm here from the state of Michigan. I wanted to speak about biotechnology applications being utilized on my person. I have medical reports showing eye damage being done to my eyes. My eyes does not have a mirror image. I also have nano wiring inside my eyes. I have pictures of the actual implants from the eye doctor. Once enlarging the nano implants, you will see a copy of the actual particles in my eyes. I have CAT scans, MRIs, and PETs showing wiring, nano wiring in my head. This is my brain, and straight from the right side to the left side of my head. I also have implants in my chin, in the chin region on both sides. One side shows a wire, the other side shows the actual implant. Implant particle devices coming down through here. Projectiles of the nanoparticles on the side of my head. Enlarged pictures. These crimes is happening in America. This is a domestic problem, not only international. The victims is not being just victimized individually. We are being victimized and our family members as well. Gang stalking tactics and harassment was utilized.
Yes. Everything I've heard from this commission and this panel about ethics, they were mostly talk about pharmaceuticals research, but I haven't heard anyone talking about a psychotronic weapon research or bioelectromagnetic weapon research. Who in this panel are familiar with the psychotronic weapon? Raise your hand, please. Who of you know about psychotronic weapons? Any one of you? Psychotronic bioelectromagnetic weapons. Are you familiar with that?
Not at all.
No? Okay. In this audience, is anybody familiar with a psychotronic weapon? Okay. Okay, the audience is familiar with that, and I think that in order for a panel or a commission to be able to help this problem and this issue, we'll have to have more knowledge on what psychotronic weapons are. I am physically leashed from my neck to the electromagnetic power of one of the weapons that is being used against me. I get tortured day and night. At night it's with nightmares and all kinds of dreams that I don't want in my head. And throughout the day it's my body. They brought with my neurological system, so they do anything to my body. Sometimes it's painful, sometimes it makes me sick, makes me want to throw up. Sometimes I feel I'm going to have a heart attack. They do all kinds of things like jitter, pulsating with the electromagnetic frequencies.
It's already being used. I mean, if you talk to the victims, the PIs, one of the worst breakdowns, and it's pretty common. I think I can say the word simulated rape and forced orgasm.
You can say anything you want. This is the internet.
Okay. And so simulated orgasms and rape is extremely common, and especially violating for women. They complain about that torture breakdown the most. Simulated orgasms and rape is extremely common, and especially violating for women. They complain about that torture breakdown the most.
But I was going to be shot in the face. And it was an older guy. He was like really, really disgruntled and pissed off. Yeah, you're going to be shot in the face. You know, sound like an angry ass old person. You know, then a couple of days later, a female said the same thing. I'll get shot in the face. You know, stupid shit like that. But what I really noticed is with the Voices Skull, it's a bunch of females. You know, and I'm like, bro, really? You're not a woman. What real woman would stalk another female or sit back and allow that to go on? You really think they think it's nothing wrong with them, basically.
And I am a victim of organized stalking, electronic harassment, microwave torture, V2K abuse, and I'm asking you to help us end this crime against humanity, which has impacted men, women, children all around the world.
Hi, I'm Wan from Malaysia. My family are targeted individuals.
We are victims of cyber torture, and I will not give up. I will fight to the end.
And I'm a victim of organized
We need this to stop.
electronic
That's it.
harassment. And I'm speaking to you on International Targeted Individual Day. I live in the US, in Illinois, and I'm a victim of organized
We need this to stop.
electronic
That's it.
harassment, microwave torture,
I've been targeted for 9 years.
24/7.
Please become more aware of this crime and those that the crime is being committed against. We need your support and help in ending this crime.
Hello, my name is Wendy Brown. I'm a targeted individual who is living in New Zealand, but my targeting began in California. I'm an American citizen, and the targeting continues in New Zealand. I'm making this video in remembrance of Targeted Individual Day, our third annual Targeted Individual Day. And I'm asking that every honest-hearted human being open their eyes to a crime.
My name is Jeanette. I am 56 years old and I live in Baltimore, Maryland. I am a victim of covert electronic harassment and torture. I am a targeted individual.
Wishes to hand down.
Why? Because it hurts. I need help. I need you guys to come get me. It's brutally painful. I have a house, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, first floor, second floor, 2 garage, backyard, land, everything. Can't live in my house. My neighbors are shooting direct energy weapons through my house. I hold my heart like this. You know why? Because it hurts. I need help. I need you guys to come get me. Come get me. Oh, Lord, because I think I'm dying. I'm making this video
In an attempt to expose this horrific nightmare.
Hello, I'm making this video to honor the third annual Targeted Individual Day. That's August 29th, 2020. My name is Linda Marie Sharp in Mendocino County, California, United States. I am a targeted person and have been for over 12 years. I am electronically tortured by directed energy weapons.
Hi, my name is Lisa Davis, and I'm in Duluth, Minnesota. I am a targeted individual.
So, you obviously see the horrible things they do to women, and there's so many testimonials. I can always find some the testimonials of women being tortured. There's not lack of them at all. And they try to really counter everything, but whatever ways they can. Like I said, they are gaslighting you. In my case, they gaslight me to make me, first of all, identify with these manipulations that they make me have. Is this so disgusting? Something just happened not too long ago, which forced me to have this nasty perception. Even I'll make a separate video, but of course aimed toward children. But on top of that, they try to present them this facade. You know how they would try to gaslight me to think that this manipulation is just not them manipulating me. Because I know they hack my phone. And like I said, gaslighting is a tactic that they utilize in every fashion to make you feel doubtful. Listen, I have like these folders of videos they make of videos that are in regard of testimonials, right? And a while ago I couldn't find one, so it seemed like somebody just deleted it, right? Now they have full, and you heard that noise campaign was supposed to disorient me, but they have full access of my phone. They show that they play with my phone every day. Like there's like this little touch screen thing that's happening on my phone. They can move it around, and it's obvious somebody's just playing with my phone, right? So I'm like, okay, well, I don't care if they did, if they did it, which looks maybe they did it. I'm not sure. I'll just re-download this thing. It's just I will not even re-download. I just retake this testimonial screenshot, right? And so today, every once in a while, when I can't find the video, I'm like, there is a question, like, did they erase that? But now at this point, they want me to think this way so that I can later find it and be like, oh, you see, you thought it was us, huh? So you see, we don't do the perfect type of torture. They do the same tactics all the time to try to gaslight me into accepting these manipulations. Because one thing is that you don't know for sure is when it comes to how you're being, like the phone hacking. Like, what are they doing to your phone? I know they're doing things to my phone. They make it obvious, but I'm not 100% sure what are they doing on my phone. I know they're on my phone. They make it clear they're on my phone. They can do things to my phone. They play around with my phone. They do that on purpose. They freeze things up. They do, like, they are on my phone. So you're gonna have to be suspicious on that level. But because you're not aware of that, you don't know what exactly is being done to your phone. You're always on high alert, and they also play with that. Like, so this is a tactic they use to gaslight you. It's like, oh, you thought this is what's being done to your phone, but it's not. It's not true. It's not happening. So you see this manipulation that you know is happening because you know you. We're not talking about phone. You know yourself. I will not have this disgusting perception. I will not have this reaction. You're forcing me to have this. You're manipulating my brain to do these things. And these things they do have been done to others. They are rewiring the brain in this fashion. And then they play this feminist femme fatale. I'm like, there's no way you can be that and be involved in a program that they are here torturing women in these ways. You heard the testimonials. This is atrocities. We're not talking about like, oh, just you heard the horribleness of what's happening. So they have these games they play to try to get you to accept the manipulations and the psyop and the facades. They are ridiculous. They have no shame. They're like, oh, I was tired. One of the perps that lives around me, she comes, oh, we heard this testimony before. And I'm like, oh yeah, but you're gonna hear a lot of it. You're gonna hear that all the time, as much as you can. These women will be heard by you, involved in this program that does these things to men, women, and children. Involved in the program that does that to women and men and children around the world. Just because you're involved in my targeting doesn't stop you from being involved in the program that do these things to women. So yes, you will be heard again. Targeting videos, see this low life for where they are. The games they play, the manipulation they play, the way they rewire your brain, the way they present themselves. I mean, there is a lot of testimonials of target videos say that these people are presenting themselves as if they're like these protectors of the community and are here avenging. And like this is something that's not unique to me too. But involved in a program where they even torture women, they do even do that to women, where they torture these women in horrible ways, and then make it seem like these women are the threat to the community. Listen to this woman, which you already heard before, right? She talks about there's a lot of defenseless women being tortured. That was her speaking about this. But listen to her describing how she's even vilified in her community. This defenseless women, listen to her.
Military medical research. I too believe my experience is referred to as no-touch torture, utilizing defense technologies. Jonathan Marino, he basically predicted all this a number of years ago in his book Undue Risk. I'm asking you to help initiate a congressional investigation. We've all come a long way. This is what is needed. We want to have the accounts of this extreme human rights abuse that's going on in our country documented and heard, all of the accounts. We also need what was done during the Clinton administration, which is a major declassification of some of these documents that are hiding what's been going on. I speak for many when I say we've suffered long enough. My personal experience has been 10 years. I've been vilified. I've been ostracized. I've been tortured. I have burns on my body. I'm an American. I have rights. The answer to the question, the big question today, could it happen today? The answer is yes, it is happening today. It is happening for some of us every day. Begging for you to help us. Thank you.
Now, she mentioned how she's being vilified, right? This is even this poor lady. This trash have no shame. These people have no shame. They do all these nasty things. Well, that's their job, and I have to calm down. Sometimes I have to put it back in the right perspective, because they do this as part of the breakdown of a target individual. they utilize these tactics of disorienting you, gaslighting you, manipulating you, create these theatrics. I mean, they use childlike people to try to make you accept it. It's just, what I said is just ridiculous in regard of how they try to gaslight you. But my brain, because it's so altered, with all this knowledge, they still try to convince me that, first of all, they don't do this manipulation. They won't do that. They're mapping me. Matter of fact, they're like, no, you see, we're doing that because now you are altering my brain for me to experience that. You understand? You are changing me. You're changing how my brain function for you to make me experience this reaction. Second of all, what you do to women and children is indicative of what you're part of. The fact that this program does these horrible things to women should just give you an idea of how much of a safety you are to women and children. It's so nasty. Now, the next step here is bring up the next level of foulness. Listen, every day I try to stay strong in every ways. One thing I need to stay strong is when I see these perps. This evil they do. It doesn't take a monster in the sense that they like it's a dangerous thing for them. First of all, the government is doing this, right? Not any government. We talk about Department of Defense level government, the most powerful entity in the world, utilizing technology that is so sophisticated. Resources are unlimited, so you can imagine anybody who participates in that feels super empowered. And the things they can do to us, like this woman said, is done remotely. They don't have to put themselves out there. They don't do that in my presence. They're not here just doing that to my, like actually physically doing that to me. Comfortably. You see the purpose that they look like, the pajamas and all. That's so this evil as it is an easy evil. Very convenient, comfortable evil. But the capability of doing what they do, the settings of it all, who's running this program, who's in charge of this evil, how they've architected this evil, is all meant to be facilitating evil. So you have this childlike people really involved in them, and then wanting you to be on their level of retardation. I'm sorry for using that word, but they really is like children who are frustrated that you don't see this bullshit. Like you're not going with the BS. It's like, no, we matter, women. Shut up. You do this manipulation, you trash ass. And I know you torture even children. You understand why I see you as. And for me, even though these clowns play this game in the method acting mode, I'm seeing them for what they're truly involved in. So for me to find aggression, it will not be hard. But I'm thanking God that I'm not that person that's capable of doing that. But some have. Some have. Some have gone to that point of killing. Some target individual ended up killing. Because they were capable of getting to that point. And they saw this evilness and just lost their mind. Even killed innocent people. Just decided, you know what, if I'm going, everybody's going. Ended up killing some innocent people who had nothing to do with anything. So can you imagine if they saw somebody who participates like and they still try to play this game just because this technology can do all these horrible things, can rewire reality? They think they can stay in this fantasized reality? It takes some strength to just control yourself, because this person knows that this is being manipulation. This is all manipulations, but she stays in character. That's her job. She's supposed to stay in character. She's supposed to make you believe these things. It's a game to her. But you see that these games that they play is a game where the atrocities are being applied not only to you but other people, and they're manipulating people in these disgusting ways. So this game is a game that that perhaps will be reimbursed in one way or another. Not even perhaps, it will be, but it's not for me to do that. These horrible things, these atrocities that they use, they utilize, not even utilize, that they think it's just a game where they can act a certain way, and this false reality is going to be subscribed to. If somebody is a bit more aggressive than me, they will easily go for it, and they have. Please listen to these horrible mass shootings that have happened because of this program. This is just mass shooting. Who knows how many single killings have happened of target individual end up killing, stabbing, doing something to somebody who is even a perp, even an innocent person, where maybe they thought this person was a perp. But listen to just the mass shooting. These people are trash, and they'll get theirs, but it is not my place to do that. They'll get theirs the way it needs to be. Before I actually go to the mass shootings, I just want to bring up what they do to the most vulnerable children. This program obviously torture children. And make sure that it's clear, because one thing they like to do is, oh, now you pay, and what they're talking about is try to make me think that what they're doing to me is to avenge and make me pay for what I did when I was a child. Because what I did as a child is something that I did inappropriate, but never to the extent that they wish it was. Me, as a 13, 14-year-old kid in 8th grade, did something to myself. That never happened again. Matter of fact, they even utilize that as they manipulate me today in these nasty ways of reacting toward children. It's like, no, we mapped it to you as a child. Remember what happened there? And they're actually bringing up some manipulation that made me have with some kids here in the elevator. It's so nasty. The way they make you react to children today, I mean, for me at least, and for a lot of the target individuals the same, it's so nasty. But then they're like, no, you're going to pay for what you did as a kid. The truth is, this program obviously torture women, men, but the most disgusting ways is they also torture children. The most disgusting part, I should say, is they torture children. Now today they try to compensate that, but not only saying that, oh, you're gonna be tortured more, we're gonna torture you more than the way we torture women and children. It's gonna be worse. It's gonna be our worse, because apparently when they torture these women and children, it's not their worse. They could torture them in more aggressive way, worse ways. Do you understand? This is the nastiness, the interaction they have with me. That yes, we torture women and children, but you're gonna be tortured worse. We don't torture them the worse. Just the way you're gonna hear they torture them. These people, this clown and disgusting lowlifeness, they're gonna get theirs. I'm so thankful that I never participated where they torture children, even though it's not the worst. They're worse. They can torture them worse than that, but they don't do that. They just torture them medium, I guess, medium worse. It's so nasty. But listen to that. Before I get to the mass shootings, listen to how they harm children. Listen to how they torture them. This trash trying to make you, try to vilify you, talking about you even as a kid. Well, they involved in this. These people deserve something magical. Like I said, the evil they do to us, they apply to us, easy evil. Easy. I mean, you should see who's participating. I'm telling you, it's just ridiculously easy. Some of them don't even need to wear pants. I've seen the one of my neighbors. It seems like he's just been a long day of working. I'm sure he was doing whatever he was doing to me. No pants. How do I know that? He just came out of the apartment really quickly, singlet and boxers on. Then went back, and I know he's participating. Because the truth is, they can do that in the comfort of their own home or wherever they're at. It's remote. It's remote. They'd be comfortably be in bed or in their office, nicely dressed in a comfortable way, and do some of the most foul things you can imagine. This program has facilitated evilness, and this is not only applied to men, not even only women, but also children. And it even makes it easy for even a child to partake in this. This technology is capable of doing the most disturbing things remotely. This woman talking about her genitals being burned and everything. She says this. She doesn't see the people doing that in her presence. They're not in their she could be somewhere in a hotel room feeling the pain. The torture is not the person doing that to her is not in the same room she's in. But imagine that being applied to children. Listen to this.
One day, I also observed her gasping for air a few times in the same way that I do when I am being more severely suffocated. The suffocation had been in a mild state for a while up until this point. Many of their torture methods are cyclical in severity. Right after I saw this child being suffocated, then I began to experience very extreme suffocation all day, every day, for about 2 months straight, and that's also when they made it worse when I eat. Then I also work with a 4-year-old little girl with Down syndrome, as well as her 5-year-old sister who also has Down syndrome. I observed both of these girls suddenly grabbing their genitals in pain and verbalizing, "ow." I observed this at least on 1 or 2 occasions for each of them during their separate sessions. During one session, I observed one of my 3-year-old clients suddenly grab his crotch and lean forward in his chair. Then he made a frightening grimace of severe pain. I asked him what was wrong and if he needed to use the restroom, but he said no to having to use the restroom and was not able to verbalize anything more due to his language delay. He looked puzzled and bewildered. Even though I had stated that it was time to do more work right before this incident, I quickly just let him play another game, and he quickly returned to his joyful, happy self again. In other sessions, he has also grabbed his crotch and said, "ow," while looking up at me.
So let me just kind of summarize what you just heard. You heard a child that's 7 years old being suffocated, gasping for air, and you heard some sexual torture, similar to the sexual torture that this woman talks about. Listen to this.
All of that today, this morning, not even noon yet here, and already I'm experiencing the pain and harm to my body, to the private parts of my body. It's just hard to feel hopeful, like just wake up and get out of bed and not know like what a day will bring, and just trying to maintain some level of hope, and just in the midst of such heinous abuse. So yesterday I went to the beach and like drank a couple of beers and just sat down there after laying in bed and sobbing for 2 hours because the private parts of my body were being burned and my breasts are moved, and just the trauma from it. Just not being able to cope with the pain and the emotional trauma that comes from someone harming me using, I guess, remote medical technology is my best guess. I went and saw a dermatologist. I talk about what's happening to me. What is happening to me is my actual physical body is being burned. So it causes me to go into shock, and it's excruciatingly painful. And I have my limitations on the type of the duration and length of pain that I can handle. So it was a couple of weeks ago, I asked him what he was doing there, and he said that I needed to stay in my room. And I asked why. So I tried to go to abuse last night was pretty extreme. I can feel it's going to be the same again today. Already on the harming of the private parts of my body. Called organized stalking. I'm called a targeted individual. Of my body and about my own safety. Because the government's burning the private parts of my body. Sometimes it feels like a laser or like pins and needles, like a tattoo. Sometimes it feels like a sunburn.
So, do you understand the type of sexual or harming of the private part we're talking about here? Before I go into anything else, I mean, I think I talked enough, but I'm just gonna let the other testimonials of these children and how these kids are being impacted by this.
Ms. Catherine Nestor.
My name is Catherine Nestor, and I'm from Pennsylvania. This commission has spoken of a long history of abuse of the human research subject. Although no one mentioned MKUltra today, President Clinton recently apologized for this. My young child and I have been used as non-consensual test subjects. We have been subjected to COINTELPRO-like stalking, remote neural monitoring, and electromagnetic torture, resulting in psychological and physical damage. And I won't go into the details of that because I have 4 pages written in here that is very similar to Connie's testimony. Please do not wait 70 years to investigate this. I ask Dr. Amy Gutmann to begin today. There is new work for the Commission for Human Subject Protection on our shores. And please give us a dramatic response, Susan. And please give us a congressional hearing. Thank you.
And have had a decent education. I live in El Dorado Hills, California, with my wife of 14 years, Lorna, and our 5 children. Nicole is 15, Patricia 14, Christopher 13, Dylan 9, and Avery 16 months old. Not only have I been going through this, but my entire family has suffered right by my side. We have all experienced the same type of harassment on different levels. We have all suffered the same symptoms while this harassment was going on. Some of our physical symptoms include severe tooth decay and vision loss, unexplained rashes and burns, severe headaches, mood swings, anxiety, thyroid problems, high blood pressure, heart problems, vision loss, and cancer. Two of my children were born premature, which I attribute to this. Our son Dylan, now age 9, was born very premature. He was born at 31 weeks. During her pregnancy with Dylan, we were being targeted more so than other times. At the delivery, there were weird men walking and waiting around the hospital. Right outside our delivery room window, there was a white cargo van parked with 2 suspicious men inside. They were there the entire labor, a delivery. Our son had to be transported to another hospital 45 minutes away. When arriving to the Toa hospital, those same men and van were present. Three of my children have severe rashes that have not been explained by several doctors. These rashes have been present for several years at a time. If interested, I will gladly furnish you with detailed photos of the rashes. Our infant daughter, at 3 weeks old, was diagnosed with Lerner syndrome. This was after a severe rash appeared on her body after a few days of torture. We were told by a couple doctors to take her home and love her and spend the rest of the time we have with her. They told us she would ultimately die from this syndrome. Thank God that Lerner syndrome was not what affected our daughter. Doctors are still dumbfounded by her rash and symptoms. Sadly, we know that her symptoms were effects from the torture this poor innocent 3-week-old baby endured. Recently, I lost complete time. I exhibited the flashing lights. My 9-year-old son Dylan complained about the lights. You will often hear that vision is something that is greatly affected with this type of torture.
So I just want to be clear that target individual and anybody watching this, do not let this trash vilify or create this false reality. Listen, for me, what they even tried to vilify me toward, which, especially after hearing this horribleness, it's just become a joke, in the sense that you have the ability to find rage about me as a child in middle school. Matter of fact, as I was seeing this number 14 and then say 4, and because I did something to myself when I was 13, 14, so closer to 14 than 13, right? And it was either just turned 14 or about to turn 14, beginning of my 8th grade career. And so I did some dumb thing, an impulsive act of a child. You see these kids over there, they're about the same age. Please understand, when you see these pictures and you hear the testimonials, I want you to put this thing in the right concept of things, perspective of things. You heard torture of children of all sorts. Now listen, what I did as a child is inappropriate as a child, but it will never be to the level where they try to push it to. But still inappropriate. This is of course something that a kid can do, but it's still considered inappropriate. But the impulsiveness of what I did as a child was just a child doing an impulsive act. Of course, looking back at it as an adult, I'm thinking about it, it's like, what was I thinking? But I understand the reality of things. This is what a developing brain of a child is capable of doing. I'm being vilified by people involved in a program where they do these things to kids. You hear people involved in what you just heard say, now you pay. Can you imagine seeing this person walking next to you? Walking by you? You hear the noise campaign. These people are all aware of how they harm children. You know how hard it is to keep cool? You heard literally atrocities on children. You understand the level of cruelty is not just based on what they do to you, but what they're also capable of doing children. You know, I'm seeing how, like, there'll be a time I will not be able to speak, right? And they let me know how you'll shut up. I was like, I'd rather shut up. I'd rather shut up. But before that day comes, you will not escape. They want me to shut up because they want themselves to feel this fantasy of what this program is about. They want to live a fantasy, and I'm not letting them live that fantasy. That's what they want to shout. You know, when you bring something to their face, people's faces, like, no, I don't want to know that. It's like, yes, you know, yeah, you will know that. And this is how I'm going to waste my voice, I guess, because it's not going to be wasted in this fashion. Imagine somebody involved in a program where they torture children. Listen, some of these perps have never done that to anybody else but me. Some have. But they know that when they involve themselves in this program, they know what this comes with. The reason why they're involved in this program is not because this program protect children and protect women. Not at all. We heard what these things does. It's because the technology is so sophisticated that it's an opportunity that's amazing. That's an opportunity that's just magical, basically. You are literally able to alter a human being in ways that is just almost like a god. You're working with the most sophisticated technology the DoD has to offer, or some of it. These people know I'm not a threat to children, women, or men, especially here. Women are not looking at me, oh, no, please. I'm in New York. There's real threats here. Actually, everywhere. But here, oh my gosh. They can laugh at me just with even thinking that I'm going to be a threat to them. Children, oh my gosh. That completely, if anything, that probably feels safer with me here. That's very far, very extremely like. But what it is now is that they have the opportunity to be involved in a program that can alter a human being. You heard this woman talk about how she's being sexually tortured. Now imagine how this is applied to children. Maybe it's not to the same intensity, but just the fact that this is applied. Even if not the worst, like they say, It's horrible. I can't let people be involved in this program and live in escapism of reality. And they're like, no, you pay now. And look at the kid over there. That's the age, the dumbness I did to myself as a kid in 8th grade. 8th grade. 13, 14 years old. Just turned 14. So they make me think, oh, four. Just to make me think of what I did to myself as a 14-year-old. 13, 14-year-old. But you heard a 4-year-old being tortured in a sexual matter. And they want to counter that. They are living a life, this purpose, to make me forget that they torture children. Target video, this is a tactic where they try to vilify you and make themselves becomes this something else. The truth is, they're using test subjects that are even children, and they torture and traumatize these children. Traumatize children. You heard this woman talk about how she's traumatized by what she go. Imagine children. They would try to make me think you traumatized. That's what they talk about. You traumatized. No, you're the one traumatizing children, damaging them. You heard the testimonial. This act that you try to exaggerate to create this traumatizing experience is what you have to exaggerate. The reality is what a child did inappropriate that is not even traumatizing, but is inappropriate. And me as an adult, even thinking about it, it's like, oh gosh. But I understand this is what a child is capable of doing. But I'm so thankful to God that I didn't involve myself in a program where they traumatize children, damage these children psychologically and physically, as this woman said. I'm glad I was able to say that before I shut up. And you hear perps of all sorts. You pay now, and you are literally sounding like that. Pay. You heard what they do to kids. Can you imagine working in a program like that and come out and be like, oh, pay for what you did at 14 years old, or when you were 14 years old? Oh, God. These perps are clowns, but they are foul human beings. They are able to harness anger of that nature. When they talk about me as a middle school having to exaggerate, but somehow able to submit or restrict this rage that they should have toward torturing children in this fashion. Please understand, people who torture children this way will not be the one making you pay, or even involved in a program that does these things, even being associated with that. And it's happening today. And they think they can block out, they can somehow like I can't even say, they can focus their this attention and this create this reality where they're gonna block out the torture of children of all sorts, but they have a rage of a child inappropriate act in middle school. And be like, oh, we dared. Yes, you dared to be involved in a program where they torture children. Dare to block out the fact they torture children. Dare the fact that they not only torture children, women. Dare to be involved in a program that rewires the brain. Dare to be involved in a program that caused my shooting. You're gonna hear that. To make me pay for what I did as a middle schooler. You understand? These perps are that level of clownly. Of course, this is a way to agitate target individuals. This is what they do to try to agitate target individuals. And they truly want you to think in these ways. They are literally really want you to look at them and like, did this make sense? These mothers, this purpose mother, when this testimonial comes, it's like okay. Do you imagine they have children? And instead of that, what they get angry of, they try to make me think of me as a kid and be like, oh, you pay for my child. You just heard a child the same age of your babies being sexually tortured by DoD technology. Did nothing to you. You heard a kid being suffocated. You heard a 9-year-old being blinded. Did nothing to you. But the anger you just harness for a child that's the age of one of your child doing something inappropriate is some of them is their clown. And today when they force me to get these stimulations, oh, it's like we mapped this you when you were a kid. Can you imagine? They are not only dumbing themselves down, blocking out the torture of children, then try to make somebody think, oh no, we make your brain be your brain of a child. We mapped it. What? Imagine I'm looking at you and I'm like, hey, we're making your brain the brain of your child. Yes, us who happen to have a lot of pedophiles in these agencies that makes us feel like that, who tend to have this manipulation that is meant to be degrading, offensive type of tormenting. Yes, us. It doesn't end there. Remember when I was talking about mass shootings? Yes, of course. Somebody's going to react in this violent way. I'm thankful that it wasn't me. It was tough. I almost thought... It almost got to that point. It almost... Especially when you hear these testimonials of what they do to some of the most vulnerable babies. And you know that they are manipulating people in these ways. And then try to vilify you for how you're being manipulated. Let me repeat that. Vilifying you for how you're being manipulated. Do you understand the anger you can harness? That you are manipulating, and not only I know that's just not me, you do that to others. So you're making people have this reaction toward children on purpose to break them down. And you torture children. It's easy to get angry. But thankfully, my anger has never come to the point of aggression. And I thank God for that. And I don't want to get to that point. I'd rather go through the horrible hell I'm going to go through, die in whatever pain, and let this trash live the life they need to live and get the way things are come to them the way it is. This is easy evil. This is going to be an easy reimbursement. Listen to what they've done. Sorry. Listen to what they've caused people to do with mass shootings.
Was a mentally unstable individual. This shotgun is the primary murder weapon. On it, he etched a number of carvings, including "End to the Torment," "Better Off This Way," and "My ELF Weapon." Alexis had been hearing voices and believed he was being bombarded by microwaves, something naval authorities knew about.
There are multiple indicators that Alexis held a delusional belief that he was being controlled or influenced by extremely low frequency, or ELF, electromagnetic waves.
And in his computer files, the FBI found this.
A document retrieved from the electronic media stated, quote, "Ultra low frequency attack is what I've been subject to for the last 3 months. And to be perfectly honest, that is what has driven me to this."
And so on what should have been a routine day, Alexis killed 12 people. Mothers, fathers, sons, daughters. Diane, they never had a chance, and still no answers as to why so many red flags were missed.
As you say, so many red flags. Thank you, Pierre.
About his time spent here in New Mexico.
As sick as this may sound, I've even had stalkers follow me into church while I was in Las Cruces and in Houston. I've had stalkers follow me into church to harass me.
May had worked as a prosecutor in Las Cruces just weeks before the shooting. In his last words, May speaks of his paranoia and coins himself as a targeted individual who's been a victim of stalking and harassment. He talked about a trip to Houston where he said cars would drive by and honk their horns every 10 minutes to keep him on the edge and agitated.
Father, forgive me for what I'm about to do. Forgive me for all of my sins, past sins, present sins, any future sins.
In May last week, from New York Times, I'm Michael Barbaro. This is The Daily. Today, the mass shooting that occurred in May last week, killing 18 people, was the country's deadliest of the year. It may also have been one of the most avoidable.
Ex-wife and teenage son go to a school resource officer, and the school resource officer calls down a sheriff's deputy to speak with the family. And in that interview, the teenage son and the ex-wife say that he has started to hear voices. He started to be increasingly paranoid and angry. They also note he has collected about 10 to 15 guns that he kept at a relative's house and brought them back to his. So they're going to the police and saying that he has access to a large number of firearms. I mean, they were very worried about him, and I think what they also were struggling with is not understanding where to get him help and what kind of intervention might lead him to be more aggressive and more isolated. Calling him a pedophile, this is one of his, it takes place. They're all hanging out together at a motel, and he starts accusing them of calling him a pedophile. This is one of his paranoid delusions that comes up repeatedly. He shoves one at one point, and everyone is just freaked.
What do you mean by that? It's happening at work? At work, I quit my job, go to a different place to try to leave it, and then it's there as well. So, what were they saying at work? Then everywhere. So, yeah, what do you mean by that? A lot of sense. What do you mean by that? It's happening at work? At work, I quit my job, go to a different place to try to leave it, and then it's there as well. So, what were they saying at work? Huh? What kind of stuff were they? Yeah, I'm a pedophile. I like little boys. I like little girls. And what kind of stuff were your friends talking about? Same exact stuff. It's the same thing. Do the people that where you work know the people that you serve with? They live in Lewiston. They're all somewhat close. Yeah, areas. But do they know each other? Do they know each other? I don't know. So when you say you hear bits and pieces, how do you hear the bits and pieces? Just throw it in conversations, or when I turn my back. Oh, so you're
Okay. So imagine the worst of the worst, but then the easiest of the easiest way. For example, right now, there's a perp. I can tell you what this perp looks like without seeing her. It's a young individual dressed in some kind of sweater, very comfortable setting, cowardness on a scale that you don't even understand, but have created a fantasy of what reality is. You heard that what they do is validating that they torture women, is validating that they torture children, is validating that they cause mass shootings, is validating that they manipulate the brain, is validating the entities that run this program are filled with pedophiles. Now, imagine seeing a perp who tried to play this fantasy. Let me just kind of describe what they were saying. And they use these very cringy voices. It's cringy to me because I know she's trying to create this voice. She wants to sound this way. Let me give you a sample of why I'm here, what this is playing. You hear a childlike individual creating a voice as if she watches it in a movie and starts saying, "You gonna know our little girls, their little hands are little ones." And it's so creepy, but so cringy at the same time because you know it's a goofy retard talking like that. And what she's trying to do is disorient you. And the truth is, my body is being destroyed. But how is it being destroyed? It's being destroyed because this this DoD technology is being applied on me. The same technology that caused these people to kill these people. Like the first one you heard, saying that he's being targeted and the electromagnetic frequencies are being torturing him and influencing his mind. Right? She works for these governmental entities. She's a participant. Matter of fact, she says something funny. She's like, "Oh, it's our little world." Because she's in the world where they utilize these tactics to test subjects, to test technology, to not even test, sorry. They utilize, let me repeat that, they utilize DoD technology onto target individual to develop this technology. And they contract very weak human beings that today are feeling so empowered, and you know that they even try to sound a certain ways. It's like a child that think that I'm supposed to sound like a villain. It's ridiculous. And she's saying this, her little hands and what, because what has been happening, first of all, they've been trying to exaggerate what I did as a child. But today when I see kids' hands, they try to make me imagine something done to me sexually with these kids' hands. You heard how they rewired the thought process earlier, right? That's what they do. And she says that. And these ways, because she's in the, they have minimized, sorry, they have facilitated the way they can destroy somebody's or evil, meaning that she talks about pedophilia and manipulate the brain in this pedophilia ways as if it's normal. They've normalized these pedophilia things that she's feeling no issue making somebody think in this way toward kids, by making somebody have this reaction or sensation or thoughts when they see the little kid's hands. But you gotta understand, she works for this world of pedophiles. You know the humiliation that I know that the entities at work that run this program. You've heard the ranking, top tier for child porn trafficking in the United States. She says something, oh, you are a little pedophile because I'm losing weight. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not your top tier pedophiles that makes you feel like gods. Those are your pedophiles. They're not little at all. They're big, big, powerful people making you be a god. You just have to sell your damn ass soul to it and make yourself sound like this now. Clown, like a cringy sounding person. It's not even cringe is what they use. It's like an embarrassing. There's a word in a different language that reminds me when I think of her talking like that. I don't want to say it. And she tries to sound like that. Like, do you know? I know you guys are the top tier ranked for child porn trafficking. I know the entities that run this program. I saw pedophilia. There's a whole bill for it. Do you know that I know you torture children? She said her little aunt. You know that there's a testimony of the same woman who talks about how these kids were grabbing their genital, their private part, because they're in pain. She's saying that they grab their hands too because and say ow, like something burned their hands. Their little hands. The little kids, 4, 5 years old, 3-year-old, they burn their hands. That's real. What she's trying to make me imagine is me in middle school, right? To counter what you just heard, this mass shooting that killed 12 people, 18 people, and thankfully nobody died from the library getting shot up, but other people have died. To counter that, she's talking about me in middle school, try to exaggerate what I did. That's why they talk about her hand, use her hand. So nasty. To try to counter that, well, I know they tortured kids in sexual ways. They harmed them, private parts and other parts, including of their little hands. And you have this trash involved in the program when they rewire the thought process and try to make you accepting of this manipulation while this kind of validations. Target individuals. My last words needs to be always this kind of words. If this is how I end up, never, like this is my last words. Those are the words I need to say a million times because I know the clown talking to me is a truly human clown. She knows that I see her as a clown. She makes the mistake to play this game. They know that it's not good. They know. They know. It's been not only this have been impacting the life of men, women, and children, but people who are not even targeted are dying. While this trash out here saying this nastiness in these cowardly ways because it's easy to do the evil things they do. But every once in a while, if they ever need me to remind them how bottom fears they are, who's running the show? Remember, I started off with this Roy Moore person. If I say that name to him, to this person, to this perp talking to me, Roy Moore, she would shut up. Not because this guy's a god. No, for some reason. First of all, she would not shut up. This is what they say. She would deflect. Or she'll find a time where I can hear it to say it. Let me just say this. If I say Roy Moore now, she's not going to say it. Let me repeat that. If I say Roy Moore now, she's not going to say it. But she can say it, don't pay attention to it. My point is, for some reason, I don't know the real reason, and I'm thankful for that. Remember, I started off by saying I'm thankful that this is a person that I know. That kind of helps me put things in perspective. He has nothing to do with me being in this program. But Roy Moore, this name that they can't say it openly. They can't say it openly. But the way they say it, when they frame me, the people who are going to torture me will be able to say it. Not them though. Not this current perps. For some reason, they are unable, or not, let me just repeat that in a better way because they make it hard for me to speak. They cannot say this name in an open way, in a clear way. They can say it, but it has to be hard to hear. And you know who's this person? That has nothing to do with me, but for some reason has given me this way of putting things in perspective. This is what Roy Moore was allegedly doing.
And go a food courting. Moore
to the mall to get into the holiday spirit. One woman recalls that she was 14 and working as Santa's helper at the Gadsden Mall in 1977 when Moore first spoke to her and told her she would look pretty. 2 years later, when she was 16, he asked her out on dates. He hit on one of Santa's elves. Well, a true evangelical, he's putting the Christ back in Christmas. Wow. And, wow. It wasn't just the mall, folks. One Alabama journalist claims that Moore was also banned from the YMCA for his inappropriate behavior as soliciting sex from young girls. And don't forget, he did that while he was assistant DA.
Can you imagine this purpose trying to be so mysticful, right? Creating these voices, this tonality that you just heard me trying to mimic. But when it comes to saying Roy Moore, they can say it in such a different, like they say it in ways that you cannot hear, as if they are restricted to say his name. And I've tested out in front of them. They still got all confused. They're like, oh, what is he saying? What? Roy Moore, what? I'm like, you understand? Now, let me just be clear. This man has nothing to do with me being in this program. The reason why I bring him up, as I said in the earlier when I was speaking earlier, is because the people who put me in this program donated money. After this allegation, this man was acquired. The allegation that was put on him, that he, when he was an assistant here, a 35-year-old man, he was banned from the YMCA. He was doing things to 14-year-old. He was a 35-year-old man. The employer at the time, who put me in this program, the reason why I'm dying, donated money, a lot of money, noticeable amount of money, to this man after the allegation. I think, if not the same, more. And so for me, it's just like, I know how bottom feeders you guys are. This empowers you, but you can't even say Roy Moore without saying it in a way where they wait for my brain to be like in some kind of trance or some kind of like hypnosis type of state where it's hard for me to hear. And they say it, it's like, did they say it? Nope. Or they say it in a very, well, via V2K, they can like decrease the volume. And so you can hear things differently. The volume, whew, I've said that in their face. Oh my gosh, turn, right? You know the confidence, this empowerment they get? That disappears in front of me. This fierce femme fatale facade they have in front of me. I said Roy Moore to one person. She dodged me, like she literally dodged her head to not even be seen. These men have put fear on these losers, while you hear this man making fun of them. I've seen a guy who's supposed to intimidate me, scared the crap out of me. Right? He's in a nice car. He looks like some kind of drug. I don't know. I don't know stereotype, but he looks like a nobody in regard of whatever he does. He looks at me like angry, and I say, Roy Moore. There's fear. I've never seen this fear. He just looks straight. I see the name of this blasphemous person that you cannot say the name of. It's so sad, as my mind is trying to counter it, because that shows how low life these people are. That this man allegedly picking up kids is something that somebody they cannot even say unless it's said in such a timid version. But to me, I'm so thankful, because when I say that name, it's like, oh, I did it. It's like, what do you mean you did it? Can you say his name, please? Roy Moore. These bottom feeders, these perps who are meant to create this facade, are just bottom feeders. They are working for governmental entities where there's clear issues with pedophilia. They clearly torment women, they clearly torment men, and they clearly torment children, damaging the most innocent and vulnerable people, and then try to vilify you. This is part of this program. We are just human test subject that the government is utilizing to develop their technology. And they're changing who we are as human beings. And then they have this trash that love this. It empowers them. These people find empowerment. Some of them are the weakest you can imagine. Weak. Literally children. They make themselves talk in these ways. And I'm like, oh God. It's like, I know What's going to happen to me is going to be horrible, but I know who's the reason what's happening to me. Please understand that I don't see you as this femme fatale, fierce individual. I think you're the opposite of that. You're a coward. You're low life. You're a coward, weak low life that find empowerment in this thing because you can do these horrible things in such an easy, simple way. But it's the same thing that you can do to women and children and have done to women and children. Even if these perps specifically haven't participated, please understand there's some in your targeting men that have tortured women. Women in your program, there's women and men that have tortured children. So do not even identify with the vilification tactics. Do not. And the thought manipulation, especially when it comes to pedophilia type of torture, the awkward reality that these entities are filled with so many pedophiles that they have a whole bill to do this basic thing, which is try to limit the amount of child porn being downloaded using their work computer, their government computers, their DoD computers, using the DoD internet network. Was created, introduced, because there was so much of it that they were being ranked as top tier child porn trafficking using DoD network, or the network in the United States. They were ranked at the top tier level. They tried to rewire that in different ways. God, for me, I'm asking God to give me strength. Can you imagine putting that in their face every day? These losers that wanted to live this fantasy, talk about their little one. You heard the little ones they torture. From toddlers to infants, from infant to toddlers, to preteens, to teenage kids. This last mass shooting killed a 14-year-old. Listen to this 9-year-old who talks, a 10-year-old that they try to rewire in this disgusting way. This 10-year-old that survived this mass shooting, but she got shot in the leg. Listen to this. This is so nasty.
Others wounded. The first 911 call coming in around 7 p.m. from a local bowling alley that was hosting a youth night for a kids' bowling league.
We have an active shooter. We have multiple injuries.
Authorities releasing these surveillance images showing the suspect they're looking for. His name is Robert Card, and he's pictured armed with an AR-15 style rifle.
Mr. Card is considered armed and dangerous, and police advise that named people should not approach him under any circumstances.
Megan Hutchinson and her 10-year-old daughter Zoe were at the bowling alley. Zoe's leg grazed by a bullet.
I never thought I'd grow up and get a bullet in my leg. Why? Why do people do this?
After allegedly shooting several people inside the bowling alley, Card is believed to have traveled about 4 miles to a local bar and restaurant. Sources tell ABC News that Card has a history of military service and is a firearms.
This poor kid got shot, got wounded, asking why. And unfortunately, the why is because these trashes, these low-life bottom feeders are pushing men and women into insanity. And some of the men are getting to the point where they're willing to shoot up a whole place where there's a bunch of kids because of the anger that they have. They won't even care about the life of children. They're willing to shoot because they're being pushed to that level. People who don't... This man was not going to go through this unless he was pushed to that level. They push people to insanity. And some of the insanity consists of causing mass shooting that even harm children. By the way, as you hear this Zoe kid, they're forcing me to get stimulation. This 10-year-old. It's nasty. While this trash are here making themselves sound like they're some kind of villain in a movie while wearing their PJs and their sweatpants, doing this foulness in this easy way. Target individual, be strong and be strong dealing whatever you go through. But death comes to all of us. Do not be scared of death. Death is what we all have in common, even with this low life. But I rather die in this horrible way than live the life this low life live. It's easy. It's very easy. You see the picture of this PG. That's basically an efficient way to dress up, meaning that they have to dress for comfort. They have to be in the comfort. Like this is how easy it is. That's how somebody who if they take their job seriously, makes sense to be dressed like that. Pajamas, sweaters, and things. All day just sitting there manipulating, rewiring the brain doing the horrible things they can do to our body, to our mind, in this fashion, in these stressed ways. That is just I'm just trying to show how easy it is. Target individual. If I never speak again, I'm so thankful that I was able to say this. Stay strong and know that justice will be done for the horrible things they've done to us, one way or another. And be strong in knowing that you could have been in a worse situation. You could have been them. You can't be this prep working for this governmental entity where life is consisting of blocking content reality. Stay strong.